Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
it comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio. Billy Liucci here on TexAgs Radio. Olin Buchanan.
We will develop men. We will graduate players. And we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Do you realize everybody knows who you are right now?
Very thankful to 12, man. They've won us games.
These other schools are like, we're freaking Texas A&M, man. Like,
that's about as pretty a throw-catch combo as there is.
I saw the safety roll, the slot fade. I knew where I needed to put the ball.
Our skill set worked great together. Like, he was more speed and I was more power, and then we put together, it was like thunder and lightning, you know.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
So it got a little cooler this weekend, but no polar bears. That A&M baseball winning another series. Welcome into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance. Studio Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. First visiting team to win a series there at the Joe this 2024 season. We'll kick things off here on Monday, April the 22nd, 2024, with Olin Buchanan, our Heisman Trophy voter. Of course, our columnist and our good friend. Good morning, OB.
Good morning.
We got some spring football to get into, but I thought we'd start off with a little baseball because starting pitching probably not where Coach Schloss wants it.
Yeah.
There's no probably about it. But, man, those bats, every time they got knocked down, they got right back up.
Yeah, it was they get down 5-0 on Friday, was it? And they come back, and like the next inning, they're up 6-5, and they end up winning in a blowout. I was thinking that they were going to do that again. Was that Saturday?
Yep.
Got down 5-0 and then came back, and but it got away from them. But the fact is, those bats, it's just such an explosive team. What have they scored? Something like 89 runs or something crazy, like 88 runs in the last 7 games.
Not bad.
It's insane. And
some of the graphics that Nick is putting up there, Caden Sorrell had a huge weekend. Obviously had that grand slam. Jackson Appel, another big weekend as well. Braden Montgomery hit a home run. Was it every game? He hit one. On Saturday, he didn't hit one, right? Yeah, it was both games on Friday. Yeah, Jace had his 20th on Friday. Chris Cortez looked really good. I think they had to use some of their guys there, obviously, on Friday, which meant it was difficult to use them on Saturday. So it kind of put them in a precarious situation.
Yeah, and, we get greedy. Wednesday had we said, hey, you got to go on the road to play the number 12 team in the country that just won a series over Arkansas, right?
Yep.
You got to go on the road, and you're going to go 2-1. We say,
Heck yeah. Let's go.
But then when you win the first 2, you get greedy and you want that last.
And you got a couple guys on base in the 9th inning of the last game. You're like, we might do this.
Yeah, I thought they would.
Happy weekend. I would not say concerned with starting pitching. I would say not a good weekend of starting pitching. Lampkins had 3 straight starts that he struggled. But Ryan Prager for the 95% of this season has been phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, nobody is great every time out.
Right.
And again, he's on the road. Alabama if you look at Alabama, they play much better at home for whatever reason. And so he wasn't at his best, but you still got the win.
Yeah, you got the win. OB, you predicted 6 homers.
Yeah, I think I need to.
Did you predict it for the weekend or for the day?
I was predicting it for the weekend. And I think they had 7 on the first day in the doubleheader.
I think on Friday alone they had 8.
Was it 8?
8. Am I right about that, Dawson? Fact check me. I believe they had 8 homers on Friday.
I'm much too conservative with this team. And then
I predicted for Hayden Schott to go yard. Is that all I predicted? I think that's all I predicted.
I don't know. Did you predict any back-to-back home runs? Because they did it again.
They did. Oops, they did it again. They did it. But Hayden Schott, I felt good about him coming into it, and he won the only one. Like it was a home run fest.
Yeah. We've said it before. Watching them win is fun, but the way they win makes it so much more fun, too.
Yeah.
I find myself, I can't – if Gabe was here, he'd be laughing at this because Gabe was is such a college baseball fan.
Yep. And
he never could understand why I was so ambivalent about college baseball.
Yep.
And yet, I find myself checking to see if I'm going to be able to watch the game, and if I can, I'm going to schedule everything I'm doing that day around watching the Aggies play baseball. And if they're not on, I find myself spending all my time at my laptop watching the TexAgs game thread.
So I have my 3 things I want to see. So I believe my bank on it was Hayden's shot. Okay. And I was right.
Yeah.
He hit a shot. My 3 things I want to see. Tell me how I did on this.
Shouldn't we all just start taking a shot whenever shot has a shot?
Yeah. I'll do like a water or a coffee shot. Sure. Why not? Espresso.
I think in this case, you need to relax the rule and just make it a
whiskey
shot.
From Hush and Whisper.
Yeah.
Good idea, right?
Yeah.
So 3 things I want to see. Or
the Angry Elephant.
Huh?
Or the Angry Elephant.
Or we can go there too.
Yeah.
Does Costa Vida do shots? We can get a Rita. All right, here we go. Another series win on the road, but take care of that on today, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So that was on Friday.
Right.
And they did take care of that today, so check. Nick scored and creating havoc.
Boy, did he.
Did we get that?
We got a lot of that.
Check. This one we didn't get, but hopefully we get it soon. A wide receiver of merit to transfer to Texas A&M.
That may be happening.
Hopefully.
I have those eyes out there that told me that there was a young man that looked very much like a receiver with the receivers coach at a popular breakfast spot this weekend. Maybe they were entertaining somebody, seeing if they can't get him to come down here from
hopefully
maybe some climate up north.
Hopefully so. But I didn't get that. You can say we almost got that with the performance from Noah Thomas.
Noah Thomas, he looked really good, and he looked like a number 1 receiver. And you know what? He looked like a number 1 receiver making catches when he was well covered.
And by the way, I thought the secondary looked good.
I thought they did.
Yeah. Here's my thing of Noah. Stay healthy. Do it all year long. Because we've seen it in games of this ilk, if you will.
Oh, yeah, hopefully. He had 2 touchdowns, but what you'd expect Noah to collect them by 2.
Well played, sir. Well played.
Thank you, man.
Well played. Did you fact check my report?
I did. There were 8 home runs on Friday, which is awesome.
So
you were off.
I said 6 home runs, and I disrespected them.
I think you meant just Friday.
That's probably what he said. That's probably what he meant.
I was thinking 2 home runs a game, right? I mean, that's a lot, 2 home runs a game.
Yeah.
You got 2 from Kansas.
But not with this guy. Well, not with these guys. These guys are Murderers Row. They're the Gas House Gang. They're the Bash Brothers. All those, the Lumber Company. All those big time. The Big Red Machine.
So I gave you my big 3 things I want to see. My bank on it. I have it here because I picked up my notes from Friday's show. Hayden shot goes yard. Got that.
Yeah.
Tanner Jones, another solid performance. Didn't get that one.
Okay.
So, see, I'm not perfect at this game, guys.
But they still won.
They still won the series. And that was the first thing I asked for is, can you win the series today? Today.
And you got it.
We absolutely got that this weekend. All right, let's talk a little spring football for a bit. Can we hear from Coach Elko?
Yeah, let's hear
he
from
kind of summed up, well, what did he say, 118 days?
118.
So now we're down to 116 days before.
Yeah, I think he might have been off on that.
Okay.
Maybe, but, so you still got all of May.
Are we calling out?
All of June, all of July, and all of August. That 4 months right there would be 120 plus.
Maybe he meant from the first day of fall practice?
I don't know. Maybe did.
Dawson, work on that. The little snap.
Pick up.
Dawson!
Count up all the days.
Newman! All right. By the way, you can do on Google. You can do how many days in between.
Well, yeah. We still have 9 days in this month, and then the next one has 31. So
Doesn't
there's
matter.
40.
The bottom line is they got 100 plus days,
70
to get things right, and he even alluded to that here in this soundbite. So
132 days till the kickoff.
Look at you, math guy. Here's Coach Elko.
I mean, honestly, we're still trying to figure everything out. I think what spring was really about for us was building a foundation, and that's what we just talked about in the locker room. I think if you look at where this program was walking off the field at the Texas Bowl to where this program is now today, I think our kids deserve a lot of credit for how they've righted a ship and started steering this program back in the right direction. I think it's obviously been an extremely tumultuous offseason, right? Between not having the season they wanted to have, switching head coaches, transfer, all this new stuff going in, kids in and out of the portal, a lot of new guys coming in, a lot of guys going out, right? It's been about as rocky an offseason as you could want to have, and I think we've done a really good job within our locker room culture of studying all of that and then putting this program back on a path to where we all want it to go. And now the challenge is the next 118 days. The next 118 days will play a role in where we go between now and the start of fall camp. We got a lot of things that we have to do as a program to be able to play football at the level we need to win at the level we want to. And that's what this is all about from a football standpoint is, can we continue to grow so that when we get to fall camp, we're a team that looks 3.5 months better. And if we do that, then I think we'll have a shot to do something really, really special this fall.
3.5 months. All right. So you got to be a self-starter. You got to know what your assignment is. You got to go after it at this point.
Yeah, I would think that I saw enough. And look, I always say it, take whatever you see in the spring with a grain of salt, because there's always going to be some guys that's going to look like, hey, this is an emerging star that's never really going to play. Mm-hmm. And when a guy makes a big play, is it because he, it was, like Reuben Owens' 61-yard run, which was spectacular, by the way. But then there's always, but does that mean you have an issue with defense, right? Which I think the run defense was actually pretty good in that game. But I just thought the players that you expect, or that you need, by and large, that you need to be good, showed that they're good, like Noah Thomas. Nick Scorton, was Hunter Erb, who was trying to block him, overmatched? Yeah. But Nick Scorton made moves at his size that you're just not supposed to make. So I came away watching and said, I think this young man is everything we heard he was. Glad to have you back. So I just thought that important areas that, in fact, even Connor, you'll remember play early, and he was under pressure by Scorton, so he just threw the ball away. But he showed the mobility to get away from rush, and I thought that was really important.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I saw some people a little worried about Connor's performance. Nothing to be worried about, guys. What I was watching, I'm not looking at his numbers. It's not like he forgot how to play football in the couple of months he was injured. What I'm looking at was his mobility, his fluidity, how he looked running. And by the way, he didn't have his offensive line. He had all the second, third team wide receivers.
Yeah. I thought Cyrus Allen looked good, but other than that.
Yeah. But to me, what I'm watching for Connor is, how does he move?
Yeah.
And considering where he was, not too long ago, I think he moved really well. The football part of things for Connor, I am not worried about at all. There's zero part of me that's worried about that.
Yeah, and you mentioned the secondary overall playing pretty well. Yeah, Noah made a couple of really one diving catch, right? He's parallel to the ground in the end zone. He makes that catch, but he was well covered. And so that's what I come away with. Hey, the secondary actually played pretty well when they did make catches. That was, they were a lot of times spectacular catches, and that's already progress.
So Connor had Cyrus Allen, right?
Yeah.
But the other quarterbacks, who looked very good, by the way, Marcel Reed and Henderson, obviously.
Yes.
Noah Thomas, Moose, right, and Ja'Day Walker, they were all with him. Jabri Barber's out, so he didn't factor into it. And then you talk about tight ends. A lot of them didn't dress out.
Right.
Like, you didn't have Trey Watson wasn't out there. Garrett Miller wasn't out there. Donovan Green wasn't out there. So, again, this is what I'm looking for in a spring game is like a couple things. Like, I remember watching that first series with Connor, how they were going up tempo, but it wasn't like a forced up tempo. They just moved faster.
And he had remember, he had a really nice throw to Cyrus Allen, who was actually covered pretty well. Mm-hmm. But he put it right on him. It was about a 20-yard gain. You remember that?
29 yards, yep.
First play, I think.
First play, yep. So, again, when I look at that play, and by the way, you should be encouraged from what you saw from Marcel Reed. The quickness, the good throws he had.
I like that kid a lot.
I do too. Jalen Henderson looked – I'm going to read you their numbers. Marcel Reed, 10 of 14, 84 yards, 1 touchdown.
Include the rushing numbers.
Yeah, and he rushed for 434 yards, okay? On the other side, or on the same side, but the other quarterback, Jalen Henderson, 8 of 13, 100 yards, 1 touchdown, and I don't see he had -8 yards because he was sacked a couple times. So there you go. Those are those numbers.
And then you think about all the, frontline players that didn't play, and I just come away thinking, I've said all along that you can be cautiously optimistic.
Yep.
And I'm tempted by what I saw, but understanding never overreact to what you see in the spring. But I'm tempted to go ahead and take cautiously, remove that, and just be optimistic.
Cautiously optimistic. And again, let's look at this like in a vacuum. They're just trying to get some plays and nobody get hurt, right?
And not show anything.
And that's exactly what happened. If you want to totally read into it, there are times you can read into things. There's nothing to read into our words or what you saw. It was a practice. They were trying things with personnel groups that don't typically work together.
Oh, wait. I talked about that long run by Reuben Owens, but Le'Veon Moss was just consistently good.
He looked big and strong, man.
Yeah.
Powerful, too. We'll get into more of that.
I like that 1-2 punch.
By the way, this is Coffee Talk presented by TexAgs Coffee. Beat the hell out of mornings by going to texags.com/coffee. Let's give out a coffee or a batch of coffee. Is that what you call it? A batch of coffee? A bag of coffee? I call it a batch.
I think it comes in a bag.
Yeah, but I like the word batch.
Well, it's your show. You can call it whatever you want.
What is a batch in your opinion?
A batch? It's a bunch.
Bunch of coffee. Let's give one away. What number texter do we want?
Gosh.
What number is Le'Veon Moss? Number 8. Let's go with Le'Veon Moss. Since you just spoke about him. 8th texter to text in the word coffee will get themselves a free bag, not batch, a bag of TexAgs coffee.
Also for the number of home runs hit on that first day.
Oh, this is true. Could have been 6, but they wanted more, Obi.
They wanted more. We all want more.
They felt underwhelmed with your guess.
I want more.
We all want more. All right, if you want to be a part of the conversation this morning, what do you think about baseball, obviously, and what are your takeaways? I'd like to hear from you, your takeaways on the spring game. Anything jump out at you? Mostly positive. Let's keep this positive. You got some negative things, you can throw it at us. We'll see if we agree or disagree. 979-693-1150. You can call us on the hotline, or you can text us at that number. We go behind the glass, and hold on, my phone's ringing. I think Nick Savage is there. Hold on, Nick. Okay. Hey, Nick. Bad acting by me. Happy birthday, buddy. I was just told. Somebody just called me. Happy birthday. Happy 19th birthday.
Yeah. No. 25th, but thank you. I appreciate it.
That's a big one. Your car insurance goes down now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Looking forward to it. I think I can rent a car now as well, so that's big time.
You weren't allowed to rent a car? I forgot about that.
It's like
rule.
25, yeah.
25.
Yeah, that's right.
I guess that's the last milestone I have to hit, and then it's,
It's over.
Yeah, it's over from
Pretty
there.
much done.
Yeah.
It's downhill from here, buddy.
Just think now, as of tomorrow, you're closer to 30 than you are for 20.
Yeah. Good point. But anyways.
I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah.
You can talk now.
Okay. Yeah, I was just gonna say I was, out this weekend, so I had a little FOMO with everything going on. Fear of missing out. Didn't get to see much of the spring game. I'll go back and rewatch it and maybe have some takeaways for you tomorrow or something. But I mean, you can't be mad when Aggie baseball goes on the roads, take 2 or 3 from a ranked team. Aggie softball sweeps. They just keep on winning. So, and a big recruiting weekend as well, and the portal and a couple of O-line commits. So you love to see that.
Yeah, let's announce that one right there. In fact, we'll go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Matthew Dawson is there. Matthew, why don't you start us off with that note? Can you tell us about the newest addition to A&M? And you can also call him by his nickname, because I think his first and last name may be a little bit difficult to pronounce.
Which offensive lineman
Coley?
are you talking about?
The one with the really difficult name to pronounce?
Oh, the Utah commit? Transfer?
Coley. They call him Coley.
Yeah.
Coley and
Nuño. Just call him Coley.
Kolinu Fau. I'll ask him.
Kolinu? I think it's Kolinu Faui.
Faui. Okay.
It's my experience. Just say it fast. Kolinu Faui.
Kolinu Faui. That's good. I'm sure Billy will probably correct us when he comes on the show. But, yeah, I mean, you started a lot of games in the Pac-12, so it's good to hear.
Yeah, and he moved to center the last 8 games of last season for Utah. So, look, you want to make it a thing of competition, right? That's what Coach Elko wants. So, Mark Naboo looked really good, obviously. Mm-hmm. Bryce Foster hasn't been around. It's going to be a competitive spot.
Yeah. You can't be too good, and you can't have too much depth in the offensive line.
Yep, 100%. Dawson, what else do you have for us this morning, buddy?
Well, you want to talk about the offensive line commits? You want to talk about Jonte Newman?
Jonte Newman
from Bridgeland?
Oh, Newman.
Do I want to? I want you to do it. I want
so
you to give
you're
it
saying
to
they
us.
got a new man in the offensive line?
I mean, look, historically, folks from Cypress, Texas are pretty good, specifically from Bridgeland High School. If you're going to talk about players.
I would say every player from Bridgeland that has gotten a scholarship here has been really good.
Yeah. I would agree with you, Olin. Yeah, as you can see on the screen, 6'5", 260. I hear Billy say it all the time. I hear Ryan say it all the time. You sometimes like those athletic kids that you get your hands on them once they're here and just fill them out.
Mm-hmm.
You love to see that.
When did he commit? Was that? I feel like there's so much stuff that happened this week.
Was that Saturday?
Saturday? I think
morning?
it was Saturday. So it was the day of the spring game. Because I remember looking at that and being like, whoa. So that was
another one.
Kay Naegeli says Friday night.
Okay, Friday night, Saturday. By then usually it all blends together for me.
Yeah. And then Connor Carty, I believe, was the other one that committed.
Connor Carty.
Yep.
From Prosper, which I believe, isn't that where
Up around
Jackson
Dallas.
Moss is from?
It might be.
I think that's where he's from, Dallas area.
They got a lot of good things going up there. It's very prosperous.
Yeah, he's already pretty.
I knew you were going there.
You
Before you said it, I was like, here he goes.
I know. I'm
here
terrible.
it comes. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we could talk about the other Aggie sports this weekend.
Yeah.
It was a pretty good weekend.
They were prosperous too.
I remember, I think in the bank on it, OB, were the three things you want to see. I think you said you want to see some softball wins.
Yeah.
You got a lot of softball wins.
You got
this
some
week.
softball wins, OB.
Yeah, I did.
So
Three
they
of them,
won
right?
3 games. Yeah, they swept Ole Miss, which, by the way, that's their 3rd SEC series sweep of the year. That is the most in Texas A&M softball program history. So that is to say Trisha Ford's got the cylinders firing right now is an understatement.
Shout out to Trisha Ford, no doubt.
Built Ford tough.
Built Ford tough. So Emily Kennedy, she pitched 16 innings, only giving up 2 earned runs.
That's all they needed to score, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She gets 2 wins, and then she's like, you know what, screw it, game 2. She's like, yeah, I'm going to come in and get a save. So, yeah, she was absolutely dominant. Would not expect anything less from her. I do want to shout out yesterday. I went to the muster ceremony. That was absolutely awesome. I love going there every year. That was my 3rd one that I've been to. I was not in College Station last spring, but
I was the guest speaker for the muster celebration, or should I say ceremony, but it is a celebration as well, up at, or I should say down in Fayette County.
How was it?
And it was awesome.
Yep.
They treated us great. It was just a wonderful ceremony, and I felt honored to be there.
All right, let's do this. I know you got more to report, Matthew. We'll try to get to that here in a moment. We'll open up the phone lines and the text lines as well, 979-693-1150. All right, friends, let's talk about sponsorship opportunities with the Association of Former Students. I know you want to get your name in front of people, right? You want to engage with Aggies especially, then you need to reach out to the Association of Former Students. They bring Aggies of all ages together during events held throughout the year. You've got those amazing marquee events like Aggie Ring Day, All Aggie Hullabaloo, and Gathering, welcoming tens of thousands of guests. And there are many sponsorship vendor opportunities available to get your brand in front of all those attendees. All events offer a wide variety of both digital and in-person options to promote your brand. Options include title sponsorship naming, on-site presence and activation, recognition in social media posts, and much, much more. There's also advertising opportunities in both the Texas Aggie Magazine and the Aggie News newsletter, which are seen by over 230,000 people. So if your business is ready to engage with Aggies, choose a partner with the organization that's been support of the Aggie Network for over 140 years. For more information on options available through the association, please email sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. All right, we are back here on TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are here in the Rollo Insurance Studio, and it is the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Maroon never looks so good with Maroon U. All right, let's talk Mike Evans for a quick moment. He's going to be returning to Aggieland April 27th for his Mike Evans Family Foundation Tee-Off Bash. Join him at Big Shots Golf for a great night. There will be golf games, food and drinks, and other family-friendly activities. Proceeds from the event will help fund college scholarships and give back to the community. You can purchase individual tickets or get a group of together to fill a tee box, which fits 6. There's also sponsorships available for companies who want to get involved. Everything they do is family first. Children 3 and under are free. So bring your kids and join the fun at the Mike Evans Family Foundation Tee-Off Bash. Visit MikeEvansFamilyFoundation.org or text Tee-Off Bash to 76278 to purchase your tickets today. Again, that's text Tee-Off Bash, all in one word, to 76278 for tickets. OB, let's get to some text messages because people have been chiming in on what they saw this weekend. We go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. The other man in kind of a pink, I didn't get the memo, Matthew Dawson.
You know, it's funny that you say that about that golf tournament. I'm pretty sure there's a hot wings eating competition there as well. I think. Don't quote me on that, but I will be doing that. If that is there and that is an option, I'll be doing that.
I was at Big Shots on Friday. Was it Friday? I think it was Friday. Ran into Jace Carter. What a nice young man.
Yeah, he is.
He's a really good dude.
All those basketball players.
Yeah, they're all. I saw Wade Taylor. He was very friendly as always.
Well, speaking of basketball players, I mean, we're going to talk about it. Baby Boots.
Booties Radford.
Booties.
He had a big semester. He got his Aggie ring this semester. He graduated, and he had a baby.
Father, yeah.
Went to the NCAA
22 inches
tournaments.
long, 8 pounds, 13 ounces. Tyrese Radford Jr.
Congratulations, Boots. Great news, and what a year for him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of milestones. Continue on, Matthew.
Let's go to track and field. They hosted the Alumni Mustard meet. 17 event wins for the Aggies, including they swept the javelin, pole vault, 4x100, 4x400, the 200 meter. That's just a couple of them, but they did a fantastic job. I know Pat Henry is super excited about his team there, and it also rained on Saturday too, so they were battling the elements through all of that.
It sure did rain. Rain like crazy.
Hey, Rick Griffin on the text line says, "Hey, OB, how would you like to do muster next year in Atlanta, Georgia? Sounds like a Go Hour special, buddy. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's do it."
If they're inviting, it's an honor to be able to, to talk about, to be able to speak at a muster ceremony.
Heck yeah, it is.
Because it's such a. What other university? What other business? Anything entity sets aside or schedules a day every year that becomes this worldwide, worldwide day to remember and honor the fallen, in your community. I think that's amazing.
All right, Matthew.
Well, let's move on then. Let's talk about. I regret to inform you, Olin, that the equestrian team dropped
the national championship.
I have to do it this way.
They dropped to number 1 TCU 9-11 in the NCEA semifinals, so they did make it pretty far.
Yeah, good year.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, absolutely.
A lot that they accomplished there for sure. It's also NFL Draft Week, and I am pumped about this. I love NFL Draft every single year, the storylines, the trade-ups, all of it. I was looking at odds earlier. Edge Cooper's plus 230 to go in the first round, which, maybe isn't like great odds. I don't know what the implied odds there. It's probably like 30-something%. But the second linebacker projected taken is plus 900. So there's a strong feeling that Edge Cooper is kind of LB1 in this class.
I want my team to take him because they need linebacker play, and they won't because they need it.
Yep.
And I can't ever count on them to do the right thing.
Dawson, let's try to get one more story in.
One more story? Well, I'm sure there's some Cowboy fans in here talking about NFL Draft. They're minus 215 to take an offensive lineman in the first round, according to DraftKings. Obi, how do you feel about that?
I don't think it's ever a bad time to take an offensive lineman because you're not good if you don't have a good offensive line. You have to, but you need linebackers too, and I think you have a chance to get a great one with Edge. So if it was up to me, I'd take Edge in the first round and a lineman in the second.
Our friend Big Glow, who's a coach, says Le'Veon Moss looks about 20 pounds bigger. He does look more muscular.
He had a 5-yard touchdown run. You'll remember it, and the cut he made on that. He looks good.
He does look good. And by the way, and I know Coach Elko discussed Amari Daniels. We know how good he can be. And Reuben Owens, he only rushed the ball 4 times. One of those a 69-yarder.
And one was a 14-yarder.
One was that much? 14 on
first carry of the game for him.
Let's go. All right, we're going to hit a break here. We're going to talk a little bit more about the spring game when we come back. Right now, Milliken Reserve Time. They're a farm-to-table community. They are in College Station, and they got homes. They got trails. They got wide open spaces. They got farms as well, and their mission is to build a healthy community around nature. And they've done so by treading lightly on that beautiful land and creating a sanctuary for family, for nature, and for community. They want to connect families to nature, and they've done a wonderful job of doing that. And they have a great network of trails throughout a wooded landscape where you're going to see it all. You're going to be able to go on the walking paths, the equestrian paths, the creeks, the ponds, the gathering areas, a place for families to cherish generation after generation. And they're committed to maintaining and restoring that natural habitat. They provide a natural setting for people to come and collect together. You've got hiking there, you got biking, you got canoeing, you got kayaking, you got equestrian trails. You've got the evening yoga there. You got the summer camps. You got the music festivals. You got the farmer markets and the farm tours. So you want to be a part of it? Go to millikenreserve.com. Again, you don't have to live there. You can just be a part of it and enjoy nature. millikenreserve.com is the website. Again, millikenreserve.com. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. We do got to pay off some text messages that were coming in. A couple other thoughts there on the YouTube page. Bigelow continues on. Owens and Moss can be like McFadden, and Felix Jones were at Arkansas.
And then I guess Amari Daniels could be Peyton Hillis.
There we go.
Though not nearly as big.
Right. Yeah, that's good right there. And some other ones to get into if we can. Vinny gave you props on being a great guest speaker.
Thank you, Vincent.
We had a chat there. Calvin says, Nuño, ag pitching is a concern. Trailing in each of these games was not good. Bats are great, though. Might be off on occasion. That said, a bit greedy, wanting sweep. Can't believe we had runners on first and third with no outs in the ninth and couldn't push across the lead. So a couple things. If it becomes a trend, then yeah, you're right. Right? Like, how many weekends in a row have we had bad? I mean, how many good weekends have we had from Prager and Tanner Jones? Several in a row.
Yeah, I think I understand though what he's saying. I don't think it's time to hit the panic button.
No,
but you can say, okay, I hope to see those guys bounce back and obviously and pitch well. But
maybe I have maroon goggles, but one bad weekend on the road at a team that doesn't lose at home, to me, isn't cause for concern. What I am concerned about is Justin Lampkin has not been right for, I think, 3 starts in a row.
And maybe that's, where a lot of the texters' thoughts, start.
Yeah. But yes, I recognize they were down 5 runs a couple times, right? Like, and you had to play catch up. I get all that.
The thing is, it's almost like they're down 5 runs and you still feel like it's 0-0 in a way, right?
Well, I mean, in that first game, I was like, oh, man, this is not a good way to start. But you never lose hope with them, right?
I guess that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, like it's not ideal by any stretch.
You'd rather have that 5-run lead and just build on it.
We'll have Schloss on here momentarily, and we'll talk to him about that, and we'll get him around the 9 o'clock hour, right at the top of the 9 o'clock. So we'll see where his head is at on there. Let's try to get some other ones in here because we got some good thoughts on there. How OB? This is from Steve. How would you grade the special teams in the spring game? Fine.
Well, I thought the punter. What's his name? Tyler White?
Yeah.
I thought he looked really good. I thought he looks like he's going to be an upgrade over what they had last year.
Yeah.
Now, nobody's returning kicks. Nobody's covering kicks. Bond made his field goal. Ethan Ilm, because I'm having Moskaleski or whatever from the kid from Washington. He got out there. He showed some leg strength, but to me, all I can really talk about as far as special teams is I thought Tyler White looked really good as a punter.
Penalties wise, A&M between both teams only 5 penalties.
One pre-snap penalty.
Yep.
Right there, they're better than they were last year.
You're exactly right. Look, it's the little things.
If there's anything to get cautiously optimistic about, is there was one pre-snap penalty.
Edward and Austin talking about Connor Wegman. 16 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and 7 real games for Connor Wegman. I think it's 8 real games, right?
Wait. How many interceptions?
2.
Yeah. Okay, I thought you said a different.
He said 16 and 2 in 7 real games. I think it's 8 real.
It's 8. It's 8. He's had 8 starts.
Yeah.
Maybe he wasn't counting the start that he got knocked out
in Auburn, which was only
a half. He played a half.
Yeah. What do you think will be the number 2 quarterback based on what you've heard this spring? Matt in San Antonio. I think that's probably better for Billy, but what I'll say about that is Jalen Henderson, like Connor doesn't lose his spot because of injury. Jalen Henderson doesn't lose his spot because of injury. Although Marcel Reed, if you station.
I would guess, and I don't want to guess this, right? I don't want to, but I would guess the backup quarterback will be Marcel Reed. And it has nothing to do with performance. I believe, okay, I've been conditioned to this, and nobody should know this more than Texas A&M because we've seen it so much. But if you've been around for a while in your career, and you feel like you can play, then you're going to transfer and play if you're the backup quarterback. So I'm not saying that I'm
predicting that.
I'm not saying that I know that Jalen Henderson will transfer. I'm just saying that history has shown me at Texas A&M and throughout college football that if you have a guy who's an upperclassman and he feels like he can play, and Jalen Henderson certainly showed that he can play, I personally just start thinking, okay, the clock's on. Now, hopefully he won't, but I have to look at it realistically, and the clock's on an upperclassman.
The window ends at the end of the month, right?
I think it just – yeah, I think so.
Dawson, will you double-check that, fact-check that when the window closes? Because, if I'm Texas A&M, I'm just thinking after the spring game, if there are – and I'm saying this for all programs, not just A&M. This is where I think people, when they kind of get a sense of where they are in the program, would be like, you know what, maybe I should look to see what's out there. So each passing day goes by, closer to the end of the portal closing.
Now, let's make it clear. I hope all three of them are here, because I was.
You need three quarterbacks.
I was impressed with what with the way Jalen played last year.
Yeah.
So I hope they're all there. I'm just talking about how the realities of college football.
Hey, let's we talked a lot about Noah and Nick Scorton earlier. I do want to hear from Elko. We'll start off on Noah Thomas, because he's a guy that once he shows consistency, we can buy all in, right?
He can be the number one,
but
the legitimate number one.
Listen to Elko's thoughts on him, because I think he's basically put an assignment on Noah. Yeah, you had a good game, but you've got a lot more to accomplish here over the next couple of weeks or a couple months.
With Tommy Moffitt.
Yeah, hang with Tommy Moffitt. Here's Coach Elko post-game after Olin, I believe, asked the question.
Yeah.
Yep.
He has, tremendous size. He has a very large catch radius. I think he's gotten healthy. He had some off-season stuff that he was dealing with towards the end of the year last year, and he's getting healthier. He got healthier as spring went on. I think it's going to be really important for him to have a really strong summer. I think if he can develop some strength, and get his body where it can possibly be, I think he has all the makings of being a guy that we can use as a top target.
So can that happen in 3.5 months?
Oh, absolutely.
When you're 20 years old, yes, because look at what Le'Veon Moss has done.
I would be if I was him, Noah. I would be taking that Nuño approach of the science and looking to see what it's going to take, nutrition-wise and working out-wise and everything, to gear toward adding muscle.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you don't want to do too much and get muscle-bound, but if he turns out like that guy, again, from Ole Miss, great.
Right.
But the next 3 months could really be would be an opportunity for Noah Thomas to really establish himself for what he could be. One of the things I loved about why Mike Evans is one of maybe my all-time favorite player was Mike was good, and he knew he was good, and that wasn't good enough for him.
That's the kind of players I want.
He did everything he could to make himself the best. And you know what? Of all the plays that since he's been in Tampa Bay that Mike Evans has made, you know what? If you ask me about Mike Evans, you know what the single play that comes to mind to me is?
Which is that?
When he's knocking the living crap out of Terrence Newman blocking him.
I remember that. Yep. I knew you'd say that. Actually,
how many catches has the guy made? What is it? 10 years of 1,000 yards. But I think of Mike Evans just blowing up Terrence Newman.
Well, and again, that's the kind of players you want to build your team by.
Absolutely.
Right? When your team leaders, your alphas, your best players do that, it trickles down.
So if I'm Noah Thomas, this is, and he's probably feeling the same way, but these next 3 months is this great opportunity to really establish yourself. You're not just going to be the number one at A&M. You could be one of the better receivers in the country.
Yeah. Look, he sets that tone, and we'll get to Nick Scorton in the next segment. But if you have dogs like that lead by example, and by the way, it starts with the coaching staff, right? Coaching staff have got to set an example, and then you got to empower these top players to do that. And what is it? Schloss, who always says, who's in our lobby right now, like great teams are led from within. I believe he has said before. If you were led from within, and you've got that internal clock and that. All right, I've got 3. Like, you got to look at it as a ticking time bomb. I got 3 months before the season starts that I got to get my body optimally ready for when we start, so it can withstand an entire season of this new size, this new bulk, and of course, avoiding injury.
And just make you even more dominant against much smaller defensive backs.
Yep. All right, we'll hit a break. We'll get to some more of those messages and your phone calls, 979-693-1150. Moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet. You can find them Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. When you go to their website, you'll see all the great vehicles that they have. They change it all the time, so they'll upload it there, and you'll see the updates. But when you step on the lot, you're going to be blown away by the great people, the great culture, and the great pricing that they have at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. First off, you'll get great trade-in value. You'll get a great driving experience. You're going to get to test drive the car. You're going to get to feel it. But they're going to make sure they put you in the right car for you and your family and your family's needs out there. And then the customer service, second to none. We're talking about from the beginning of the process to afterwards, right? You'll drive home, and then months later, you'll still be getting that great customer service. They've got complimentary pickup for all of their service customers and delivery. They are top-notch when it comes to getting a vehicle. 15-minute drive, the very edge of Bryant, to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. We're back here on TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. It is the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. We return to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Matthew Dawson, you had some notes for us?
Yeah, transfer portal ends on the 30th. So underclassmen can transfer. Once they enter the window, they can stay in there as long as they're in there before April 30th. Grad transfers can obviously transfer at any time, but when I'm thinking about the A&M roster, I don't know how many players the graduate effect would impact them entering the portal.
All that to me goes back to what Coach Elko said, was like he feels good where they are. And again, you don't know what's inside people's heads. I think outside influences can certainly have an effect on young men, right? But he feels pretty good where everybody is.
And I hope that everybody stays. But when I'm talking about the quarterbacks, it's just that's how I'm conditioned with college football.
Madden says it looks like Wegman's bulked up as well. I didn't notice that, but I think I've seen him a few times since the end of the season. So maybe he has bulked up a little bit.
Well, again, they've got a better strength and conditioning program than they've had since Schmitty left.
Yep.
And or the best one they've had since Schmitty left. And so I would expect that, everybody look more toned.
Yeah, they absolutely did. Or I don't know if tone's the word I would use. Yes, tone, some tone and some size. They've definitely been putting on some size. Let's listen to this last bite from Coach Elko on Nick Scorton, because Scorton you look at him, he looks like a force. Great personality, by the way. I loved his press conference. Here's Elko breaking down not only Scorton, but really the entire defensive front.
When we line up Nick Scorton on one side and Shamar Stewart on the other, I think we have the best defensive end combo that we've had here in a long time. And then you start talking about some of the other pieces and what Cassius Howell brings to the table and what Rylan Kennedy brings to the table and what Malik Silla will bring to the table. And you have a lot of talent at that position right now. And then, when you just talk specifically about Nick, it's what you get when you get an older veteran player. He led the Big Ten in sacks last year. That doesn't happen by accident. He's played a lot of football. He knows how to go about his business. He's got, a really strong repertoire of pass rush and games. I think we've done a really good job of kind of elevating him. He was kind of stood on his feet a lot at Purdue. We got him in a stance a lot more this spring just to kind of get him adjusted and the comfort to that. And he'll do a little bit of both of that for us come fall. And I think he's a really talented football player, obviously.
Using him in different ways, making sure that he puts more on film for NFL, by the way, just that he can play hand on the ground, stand up, whatever. He can get after the quarterback.
Yeah, and so that's just another reason to feel really more optimistic about it. I think A&M's going to have a good defense. I think you start with defense in football just like you start with defense in baseball. You want to be good up the middle. And, I like the inside tackles, DJ Hicks. Got to find another linebacker. But you heard Elko talk about it also, how bullish he was on the safety position.
Yep.
He raved about what he feels like they got at safety. So you got to find another linebacker. You find another good linebacker, and I think A&M's going to be really solid defensively in the middle. And then when you start getting edge guys, like he was talking about Shamar Stewart and Scorton and some of the other guys, then you start realizing, hey, this defense could be, flat nasty, especially when you have somebody running it that has a clue, unlike, maybe the last 2 years.
BJ May showed up on Saturday. To me, he's the biggest standout at DB, made a lot of plays. That's according to Walker in Houston.
Okay. I didn't notice him as much, but that doesn't mean anything. I'm following the ball, and, if you're in good pass coverage, that means the ball's probably not going in your direction.
Right. OB, great job, buddy. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
All right, coming up next on TexAgs Radio, Richard Zane will be in studio with me as Schloss is in studio. He's in the lobby right now. We'll talk to Jim Schlossnagle coming up next on TexAgs Radio. After that, we'll have Boomer White on the phone to chit-chat a little bit about all things A&M baseball related. You're listening to TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're back. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's talk a little Aggie baseball. Richard Zane in the studio with me. Jim Schlossnagle here with us. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here.
So let's start off. Another series victory where the bats were elite. Just your thoughts overall on the weekend.
Yeah, I thought our guys did great. A lot of weird weather situations. Baseball players are used to that. Hey, you're going to play. Hey, you're not going to play. Hey, we're going to start at this time. No, we're not. We're going to play 2. We may only be able to get in 1. Now we're going to be okay to get 2. Saturday doesn't look great. Like, just a million things went on. Alabama handled it great. And then we got caught some really brutal weather trying to get home. So instead of getting home at what could have been about 7 o'clock Saturday night, we didn't get home till close to noon yesterday. So it was a long back end of the week, but take the 2 games. Pretty still going over things in my mind in the 3rd game, but I'm sure the players have flushed it. The head coach needs to flush it too and move forward.
Coach, we were talking before we came on air about the weather and how it impacted some of the decisions. You know, you're scheduled to play Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but then you have to play the doubleheader on Friday, and then the weather on Saturday looks really, really weird. And I just want to open up the floor to you to explain some of those decisions you made Friday because you didn't know you were going to play Saturday.
Yeah, man, you can look back. If I'm an Aggie fan, I'm like, why the heck is Aschenbeck pitching up whatever, you know? And believe me, I was thinking about it. But I'll try. We don't have enough time to go through all of it. But basically, they thought we were going to be fine to play the first game. And then right before the game started, they said, well, we need to wait a little bit. And then they said, now it's blowing up. We don't want to start a game and get a pitcher burned for maybe like Prager or their guy burned for an inning and then be stuck. So it was either wait till 10 o'clock and start a game or go the next day. And then they said, well, the best chance of rain on Friday was between 2 and 6. And I said, well, we should start at 11 and make sure we get 1 game in. And then if we have to have a split doubleheader, meaning we would run back to the hotel and then come back, that's fine. You know, we're here all day. So we played the first game, won, and then the second game, they said, we're looking good for another 3 to 4 hour window. And then I can't even remember. I just know we were winning. Maybe 6, 7, 8 runs, something like that. And in about the 7th inning, I saw the girl that runs the game ops for Alabama walk out and talk to the crew chief, Scott Klein. And I went out to the home plate umpire and said, hey, I want to know what that conversation's about. And he came back and said they think we have about 20 to 30 minutes before we're about to get smoked. Well, and we had already been told that Saturday they thought was going to be the worst day of weather. And you're not allowed in the SEC, if your series is set up Thursday to Saturday, even if you have a charter flight, even if you're busing home, it doesn't matter. You cannot extend it to Sunday. You get your 3 days, that's it, to get the games in. So I'm sitting there, and we can talk more about Alabama's team and how awesome their team is, how offensive they are. A lot of our pitchers weren't the greatest matchup to them, and we can talk about that. So I'm sitting there with the lead and a chance to win a series. And if that rain would have come, you know, who knows what we were facing. And I was like, do we just go ahead and get this over with? Evan is usually really efficient with his pitches. And so we let him throw the first inning to get us out of it at a couple pitches. And then we had a chance to get the 10-run rule and didn't. And I was like, if he can hold him down, maybe we can, you know. So anyway, I burned that bullet. It wasn't really burning a bullet. I think he threw 30. At one point, it was at 21, and he didn't get the last out. It ran him to 30. So we just went ahead and did it. And then we scored some more, and obviously then let Weston Moss finish the game. And I was also obviously counting on Lampkin giving us a little bit more length than his bullpens going into the week. Max felt really good about. So I just fired that bullet right there, and then got into the third game in another dogfight. And in the 7th inning, I think it was the 7th inning, I thought we wanted to get Caden Wilson going. We need another left-hander in that bullpen. Wansing is not in the greatest shape. and Wilson is, and he's got great stuff. And I thought he did great. I thought he had some really bad luck. We had a weird ball hit to Chestnut that was, he hasn't played. He's a second baseman by trade, but he hasn't played there all year. His athleticism, he tried to go dive and catch it. Could he have let it drop on one bounce? I mean, that's hindsight. And then we had the toughest play for an outfielder where a guy takes a full swing, and off the bat, when you're playing left field and a right-hander takes the full swing and it's hit towards you, it's a really hard ball to read because it's directly at you. You think that ball's hit hard, and it's actually off the end of the bat. So Caden recognized that, but slipped because the field was wet. And then that ball dropped in. So, and then they got the good 2-out hit. So, yeah, you ask about weather, but that was all the things that were going through my mind. And then we get stuck there and have to spend we don't get home till yesterday. So we won the series. Am I upset not winning the third game? Yeah, I am. Just like not the South Carolina one, but we just need to keep stacking, good weekends on top of good weekends. But I do believe the highlight of that loss is we got Caden Wilson some really good experience, which I believe will pay off for us the rest of this year and hopefully in a postseason.
I want to go back to the comment you made about the matchup with Alabama and starting pitching having some struggles this weekend, just how potent of a lineup they have and why it was some issues.
Yeah, so here's the issue. Super veteran team. They only start the one freshman, and he's the 3-hole hitter, LeBron, who's a good player. They have the lowest, it's almost like it's so abnormal. They have the lowest swing and miss rates on off-speed pitches of anybody in the country, especially their best hitters, like less than 10%. They foul them off. They hit them great. And the swing and miss on the fastballs is pretty good. I mean, the swing and miss, they don't swing and miss at fastballs much either. So they put a lot of balls in play. And the other thing is a ton of left-handed hitters, which you would think with 2 left-handed starters, Sadeo, Aschenbeck, and even Wilson, oh, yeah, we're in good shape. But they have a ton of left-handed pitching. So they see all good left-handed pitchers in practice all the time, so it doesn't faze them. That's why Coach Vaughn can just put those 5 lefties in a row. He doesn't care because they can handle them. So just at least on the weekend, if you look, I don't know how we had a game in which we walked more than we struck out this year, which that doesn't happen to this team, and we won the game. That was the second game, I think. So it was just a weird matchup. The righties like Stewart or Cortez with the breaking balls coming back into the lefties scared me to death. Stewie gave up a homer. I think maybe Cortez somebody gave up a homer. A right-handed pitcher gave up one going into the lefties. And then even Aschenbeck, I mean, he got him out when he pitched, but it wasn't as clean as it normally is when Evan's pitching, simply because you got to give Alabama credit. And I asked our coaches on the flight back, I was like, who would you rather face? Florida's lineup, which I don't care what their record says, there are big leaguers all over that team, or Alabama. And most of them said, I'd rather face Florida than Alabama, even though you got Cags on Florida's team hitting all those homers. So they're a really good team. And it wouldn't shock me if they can keep their pitching right. That wouldn't shock me to see them in Omaha.
I know you come back, you win the series, but it seemed like Game 3 on Saturday was there for the taking. I'm just curious as to what was your thought process and mindset through some of those moves late in the game. You already explained Wilson, and I agree with you. He looked awesome. If he had gotten a little bit more help from the field, you'd probably hang on to that lead and win the game. But then in the 9th inning, the decision to pinch hit for Sorrell against Davis, what was going through your mindset?
Yeah, I thought Davis was moderately tough. Although Caden had gotten a sac fly the at bat before, Benderup has had a really good week of work, and he just missed a fastball. If you're in that bat, I don't know. It was a gut feel where I wanted, and I didn't want to play to tie the game. Somebody asked me about safety squeezing with Camarillo. I don't like playing for the tie on the road. I don't like playing for the tie ever. I want to win the game. We got first and third, nobody out. If I second guess anything, it's not stealing second base earlier, because I think they were afraid to pick and have that first baseman throw the ball again. But Sorrell left on left with Davis. I just went with a gut feel on Bender up because I felt his week of work was awesome. I haven't seen that last pitch yet. It was backdoor breaking ball. It was probably a really good pitch. At the end of the day, somebody's got to put the ball in play to try and score that run second and third. Ollie's at bat wasn't, he's had better at bats, but give Davis credit for pitching out of it. But yeah, I was just taking a shot because I felt like Blake had a great week, and I thought he was going to wind was blowing out, and I was like, he's got a chance to run into one right here. This is a good matchup for Blake.
How about the weekend Sorrell had overall, though? Just especially Friday. Yeah. Was it Friday? My day.
Yeah,
Friday.
It was game 1 on Friday.
Yeah. Grand slam. He hit a backside home run.
6 RBIs.
Yeah. He's coming into his own. He's doing a better job of using the whole field to hit. Still chases out of the zone a little bit, but that's part of it. I think we'll look up in 2 years and he'll have, I don't know if he'll be, Lavalettes a special player, but as soon as he can, like for Jace, a lot of his strikeouts last year are walks this year. You look at Braden's walks, again, Mike Early's favorite phrase that I love is your season's going to be defined by the pitches you don't swing at. And so I think if as Caden gets older and he figures out the pitches he can handle and the pitches he can't, he's only going to be better. He's a really good outfielder. We're super glad he's here.
And for as much as the conversation about this offense and this team is surrounding those top 3 guys, really top 4 guys in the lineup, the rest of the guys, and Sorrell's a great example, because if you go back and look at what Schott and Camarillo are doing consistently at the plate, they're allowing this lineup to get even longer and even more offensive. Just how special are those guys at the bottom of the lineup and vital to what you guys have been able to do?
Yeah, the secret sauce to the lineup is the guys after the 3 superstars. If the 3 superstars do what they do and they all do it on the same day, you get that Vanderbilt game, the first game. But I know what it's like to pitch to those superstar type lineups, and you kind of, if you get through Caglione, okay. Well, what beat us was the right-handed hitters for Florida. It was the other guys that beat us, right? So Appel, Teddy Burton, who I still believe we're working like crazy with him. He has another level to get to. Schott is staying on baseballs against right and left-handed pitching. It's really those guys. It's their experience. It's the number of at-bats they've had. Ollie has really bought into the things we've asked him to do as a hitter to make himself better. You said Sorrell. And then, Chestnut's job is to just find a way on base. And if he gets a hit every now and then, that's awesome. Play a clean second base. And then you flip the lineup over and you got Grahovic. The big key is those guys getting on base. Grahovic's strikeouts are up a little bit. A lot of those are to lead off the game. But who cares? The guys he's hitting, if those bottom 3 guys are on base, then you get Grahovic hitting with the bases loaded like he had that big double in the 3rd game.
I know the price of admission to play for you is to play a complete game and always, no matter what the lead is, always your teams are going to fight. But what does it say about the future that you're down 5-0 and you just keep coming back? And no matter what the situation is, the offense is going to have the pitchers back.
Doesn't say much for the future of our starting pitching. That's got to flip around. But let me address, I'm not cracking on our starting pitchers, but think about last year if we would have gotten 3 sub-average starts, where would we have been? What I was so proud of was Sadeo pitched back-to-back days. Cortez pitched back-to-back days. Peary pitched back-to-back days. Wilson got his first appearance. Like, all those guys, they picked up our starting pitching. Tanner probably had the best start. So, but yeah, our guys, they don't panic with the power that's in there, and we can get back in the game pretty quick. But that's not the recipe you want to play with, because the deeper we get into this thing, we're playing a club this weekend in Georgia that they can do the same thing. Condon probably going to be the first pick of the entire draft, and so they hit a ton of homers as well. Looks like we're going to have a south wind, so It's not a recipe for great baseball, but it does tell you about the character of the team.
It felt not too dissimilar from what we saw a lot out of your clubs in 2022.
Yeah, without the depth of starting pitching, though. I think that, but yeah, it's a really good group. They have great character. They play neutral in terms of their, you'll see them celebrate, but you also won't see anybody pout. I think Schott does an awesome job. I think Schott DHing is a huge help, not because he's not playing the field, but just because he's in the dugout a lot and keeps everybody positive. So, it's a good team. It's fun to be around, and just let's see if we can't keep this thing going for a little bit.
Houston tomorrow. Just talk to us about that matchup, and also who do you think will be on the mound?
I think we're going to run Brett Antolik out there. We need to give him a chance to pitch. Nobody else has really taken and run with it. He hasn't pitched a lot, so I don't know how long he'll be out there, but we need to give him a chance. He's super talented. We want him to feel good about being an Aggie and knowing that that he's a big part of this future here. I haven't broke down Houston. I know they have a lot of right-handed hitters, and I know they started off the season awesome, and then they were leading the Big 12 in pitching. Then they've went on a big slide due to a lot of injuries. So as soon as I leave here, I'm going straight to the office to break them down, so I'll know more tomorrow.
All right, Jim Schlossnagle here in studio. Thank you very much for coming in, sir. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
When we come back on TexAgs Radio, we'll do a little SEC storylines with Around the SEC. That and more next on TexAgs. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Bronny's here with us now in studio. He had an appointment earlier. He's back. One of the things, Bronny, that I appreciate about Coach Schloss, I know you were listening to the interview, is how he'll explain his thought process. He's not guarded about that. He kind of explains and it all makes sense. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I love how forthcoming he is with that information.
Yeah, he doesn't run from, and he never has since he's been here. He doesn't run from the tough questions or trying to explain his line of thinking. And it goes back to one of these things, like hope isn't a strategy. So you're not running Blake Bender up out there in the ninth inning hoping he's going to get a hit. You have evidence to say, like, hey, his last week, you forget about Blake Bender up that in the fall he was their leading hitter, or one of their leading hitters in the fall, started the year at first base as the opening day starter. So there's like, it's not I think that the question was like, man, he just hadn't had an SEC at bat since Florida. But these guys are playing these sim games during the week, and the coaching staff clearly had some confidence that he could go in there and get the job done, and it didn't work out. And it's really easy. You have no idea how hard those decisions are to make in the moment. But they're really easy to criticize on the other end of them when they don't work out, right? But you have to have, like this coaching staff, and he said it was a gut feel based off of the matchup that he thought that the left-hander for Alabama presented and what Blake had done in the past week, and he thought that he could get the job done. What I would have been interested to ask him is, was there any thought about running Ryan Targach out there, a more experienced right-handed bat? But maybe Ryan Targach in the last week in these sim games has not been as good as Blake Bender up, so you're trying to ride the hot hand. We don't see those things. They do. This is a guy that has over 900 collegiate wins. I trust that he is making the decision in the best interest of his ball club to win another game, and that's what he thought he should do. And now, look, it's kind of inexpensive experience because you had won the series. Right. You know, you weren't fighting tooth and nail in that final game to get out of Alabama with a winning series, or just, you know, saving yourself from a sweep like Bama was playing for. So there was a little bit more wiggle room. I loved Caden Wilson's appearance. I had zero issue with him coming into the game. I love it. I think he's got a super high upside here. I think he's going to pitch a lot for Texas A&M. I had no issue with him running Evan Oshin back out there in Game 2 on Friday. Like, when you are playing the back end of a doubleheader on the road against a top 20 team with a chance to win both and secure the series, and you look at the run outputs over the entire weekend. All right, and on top of that, the weather. You didn't even know if you were going to play on Saturday or not. So if I'm not sure that I'm going to play on Saturday or not, why wouldn't I throw my best bullet to make sure that I win the series, right? And you're hoping that Saturday, that if you play, you get a better start out of Justin Lampkin and you can piece the game together. And you still only threw Evan Oshin 34 pitches on Friday. If you needed him in a safe spot, you know, if A&M would have taken the lead or tied it in the ninth there, I guarantee you Evan Oshenbeck would have been coming into the game. But it didn't work out that way, but you did what you had to do to secure a series win. And it's always funny to me with stuff like this. What is the mood coming off a weekend against South Carolina if the Saturday and Sunday results are reversed? Same deal with Bama. Game 2 and 3 results are reversed, where you win the first one, lose the second one, you win the third one. Coming out of the weekend,
we feel great.
It's a way different feeling. So why do you let a result, a one-inning loss on the road, much like you had in Columbia, affect how you feel about this baseball team or the prospects of the season? It shouldn't. It really shouldn't. And the stuff that they did in Tuscaloosa, where Alabama had home series wins coming into the weekend over South Carolina, Tennessee, and Arkansas. They don't have one over Texas A&M at home. Look, people are diving into, and I get it. It's like, it was like a highly emotional. You wanted to sweep. You're right there and had it on the door. You're on the doorstep to sweeping on the road, and it didn't work out. But man, like,
you won the series.
You won the series, and you got to learn some more stuff about this ball club.
Yeah.
And, don't get greedy. Don't get greedy. It's an incredible baseball team that's having an incredible season. If I'd have told you, David Nuño, that Texas A&M baseball is going to win 35 out of their first 40 games,
sign me up.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where those 5 losses come from. Sign me up. And so they're entering another midweek against, you know, a U of H team that has not played well this year. I think they salvaged a game on the road at Cincinnati over the weekend, but I think they're the bottom in the Big 12. Matthew, you may be able to look that up, Big 12 baseball standings. I think U of H is at the bottom. But it still doesn't, you know, U of H still has pretty good players. I mean, they're pulling from the same kind of talent crop and talent pool that you are. But you have a chance to, I believe, moved to 22-0 in the non-conference this week. And then you have non-conference games still with Tarleton and Rice. Like, could you be looking at a season where you're undefeated in the non-conference?
Are you – I know you're not worried about starting pitching because Prager's been solid all season long, and Schloss went into why this was a bad matchup for those guys. But Lampkin's had, 3 straight starts that have been kind of shaky. How concerned are you there?
Yeah, the beauty of it is you're still winning series, right?
Yeah.
And he didn't have a great one against Vanderbilt, and you still won the game against Vanderbilt. I think – I don't know this – I think he'll probably get one more to see if he can right the ship. If not, then you start looking at, all right, who could go in that spot? And the good thing for this club is they have a lot of options. The bad thing is they don't have a lot of experienced options. And I do not think that Chris Cortez is going to be one of those options on Sunday. I don't think he should be.
He's great where he's at.
He's fantastic where he's at.
Yep.
Right? And I think the kid's in the best spot he's ever been from a mentality standpoint. Leave him out there. He's a massive asset to your team if he's going to pitch the way he has over the last 3 outings. And so is it Weston Moss as your Sunday starter?
Right.
Do you have an opener? And we were just talking to Coach Schlossnagle about Brock Peary. Like, that was Brock Peary's – the home run he gave up was the first hit he allowed in SEC play this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think people don't really understand that was the scenario and that was the case. Can Josh Stewart start? I don't know. So, but you're just looking at names. Isaac Morton's got the ability to start. You're just looking for guys that could run out there and give you 4 or 5 innings on a Sunday. But the difficult thing is, and I think a lot of folks need to kind of wire their brain about what starting pitching is in this league. Starting pitching performances aren't 6 or 7 innings. They're not. Last year, the average start was 4 2/3 innings. So, like, if you get a guy that's getting outs in the 5th inning, that's massive. Now, A&M didn't do that. I don't think they had an out recorded by a starting pitcher in the 5th inning all weekend. I think Tanner Jones was the deepest start at 4 innings. It can't be that. But it hasn't been that either. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So don't look at this one series as a trend. Right now, it's an outlier. The last time Ryan Prager was bad was Florida, which was, 6 weeks ago?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think he's due one bad start every 6 weeks. That's
against
normal.
a really good team at home that doesn't lose series at home.
And they don't swing and miss. And I think the issue that I saw with the left-handers, both Prager and Lampkin, and this is where Lampkin's issue's really been, is I thought pitch shape was fine. The velocity was fine. But where Prager has been so good and where Lampkin has also struggled is being able to locate within the strike zone, specifically late. Bama doesn't swing and miss, and so they're really tough with 2 strikes too. And if you make mistakes, regardless of what the count says, if you make mistakes in the middle of the plate, they're going to put a barrel on it. And they got massive weekends from some guys that came in like really scuffling. T.J. McCants, A&M could not get out. And I think his average had dipped to like 260 after starting off the season red hot. And I think he had probably 6 or 7 hits. Matt Gassetti, their catcher, had 2 grand slams on the weekend. He's a transfer from Florida. He left Florida with an open catching spot because he wasn't going to be able to get the job done. And he just out of his mind this weekend. So I think you were playing a little bit against that. You know, sometimes those guys that are at the bottom of the order, they go nuts.
Yeah.
And A&M saw it with their 8 holding Caden Sorrell, and what a massive impact he had on winning game 1 when you were down 5-0. So sometimes those weekends, those guys that you don't expect to bite you just come up and get you. But I think Bama's really good if they can figure out some stuff on the pitcher's mound. And I actually think Zane Adams is probably their best guy. And then Ferron and then Ben Hess. I think I would probably rework my starting rotation if I were Rob Vaughn. But their bullpen leaves a lot to be desired, so they're going to have to score runs in that way. It was a good point. I think they remind me a little bit of 2022 A&M, where it's not – in Kentucky, I watched them this weekend. Kentucky does too. It's like, where is the superstar power on Alabama and Kentucky in their orders? And there isn't like one headline grabber. Like even LSU, as poorly as they've played, they got Tommy White in there and Hayden Travinsky. Like those are headline grabbers. Kentucky and Alabama really don't have one, although Gage Miller for Bama has been playing out of his mind this year. He's probably your first-team all-conference third baseman right now. But I think that they just do a good job of the sum of their parts working together and giving them a chance to win each and every time out. And Kentucky, obviously, look what they've done. the leaders in the SEC right
running
now.
away with it. Yep. Hey, let's close out with elite offense. Just over the weekend. I mean, Friday the 2 games, Saturday. Just they get numbers in bunches, man.
Yeah, and whenever the middle of the order is going to get on base and the bottom of the order is going to get on base, you set the table for the slugging that happens. I think their team OPS is well over 1,000 now. Mm-hmm. That's insanity 40 games into a college season. You know what Braden Montgomery is slugging?
What's that?
Over 900.
Holy smokes.
Like that's higher than a lot of teams' OPSs. Braden Montgomery is slugging, I think, 902. I do want to say congratulations to Jace Lavalette. We talked about last week in the baseball bunch being one of the best power hitters that the school has ever seen. Back-to-back seasons now with 20 home runs. The first player in A&M history to ever do that. That's a cool title to have on his mantle. I think he's going to get more. Like, at the end of this season, we're going to go, all right, Jace Lavalette needs X amount to pass Dalen Holt for the all-time home run lead going into his junior year. It just – special talent. He had a clutch home run in Game 3 to put A&M ahead late. What can you say about Gavin Grahovic? We were sitting there talking about at the end of last year, Jace Lavalette had the greatest freshman season we've ever seen, and then right on the heels of that, Gavin comes and is doing what he's doing and is going to thrust himself right in that conversation by season's end. Yeah, it's a special team, man. Like it's as good or better than any Texas A&M baseball team I've ever seen.
Ronnie, thank you, buddy.
Yep, thank you.
When we come back on TexAgs Radio, Boomer White to give us his perception of the weekend and where this team is. Right now, though, we're talking Heritage Films. Got to go check it out. The website is yourheritagefilm.com. Chance, my buddy, Chance McClain, runs the company. He shot me a text yesterday. He said he had the best shoot he's ever had yesterday. He filmed 8 guys from Sol Ross class and their class of 74. And they came to College Station to be honored as 50-year Ags. He interviewed each of them individually and all of them together in a big panel about their experiences from 1970 to 1974, then as life as an Aggie afterward. It was hilarious, meaningful, emotional, made me very jealous of what Aggies have. Now, Chance isn't an Aggie, but he feels our heartbeat, right? His daughter, Gunn, came to Texas A&M, and she was all about it. She was there for that shoot as well. And just cool that he tells people stories, group stories, family ranch stories, whatever it may be, family business stories. What I think is when you got a bunch of buddies or a bunch of guys that have a lot of meaningful history together, to tell that story the way Chance just described it, right? As a group, as a panel. To me, that is just the way you tell stories. And Chance has done that for a long time now, and he can do it for you. He can tell your family's story. He can tell your buddy's story. He can tell your group story, your fraternity story, whatever it may be. Chance can do that with a Heritage Film. And then the other option, as I've talked about many other times, is the Year Flicks, which are more 20-minute videos. So the Heritage Film is like a 2-hour movie. It's like a movie, right? And it is awesome. You'll love it. But the Year Flicks, 20-minute Q&A, tells the people's story, quick, fun, easy videos, especially for the younger kids out there, where it's more of a benchmark video. You do one video now, follow it up a couple years from now with how much they've grown as a person, personality, all the great stuff that Chance puts together there at Heritage Films. The website, again, is yourheritagefilm.com, yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. A&M baseball trying to take it to the other side here on TexAgs Radio. I don't know. Sometimes I'm cheesy like OB. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. We'll continue talking some baseball here on the hotline. Boomer White, A&M infielder in 2016. Of course, our good friend on the program. Boomer, good morning, buddy. How you been?
Oh, all is good, David. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, man. How's life at home? I heard it's been kind of a fun few weeks.
Yeah, it has. We're almost on week 3 of a little new baby girl. Drew Catherine White was born back on the 4th of this month. So it's been a blast trying to get back into the swing of things, but just got out of the house on a nice day for a walk. So you count your little wins when you get a little free time.
Yeah, for the next 20 years, buddy. It's going to be tough, but congratulations, and that's so wonderful to hear. Let's talk about this weekend. So they almost sweep Alabama. An interesting weekend in the way that they had to play catch up a lot, and then of course the offense just being the big story all weekend long.
Yeah, I mean it's a juggernaut of an offense, and I think the country's seeing that as you watch this team. They're really never out of it. I feel like for the longest time they were striking early and often, taking that early lead in the first or second inning. It felt like they were pouncing on teams, and this weekend they seem to do it differently and come from behind or have to kind of battle throughout the game in a high-scoring game. But, yeah, I mean, the offense is the story. Pitching just needs to be tightened up a little bit because you don't want to rely on winning 8 to 9 games the rest of the year. But I think it's just a pleasure to watch these guys go at it at the plate, 3 times a week or a weekend.
Well, and here's the thing, Boomers, it's not just the top 3, right? We know the top 3s, they're all going to play in the big leagues. They're all going to be first-rounders. But, you feel that offense 1 through 9.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I was looking at their batting average. I think everyone's hitting 300 with 2 guys, and those guys are maybe 280, 290. But what really has done wonders is not only his shot kind of got back into the groove of things, had a little lull there, but when you put Jackson Appel behind, the 3 monsters, you immediately protect them all. You immediately have a stud switch hitter with power who can hit for average, and you just pick your poison, and you can't dance around them. And obviously you can't dance around them throughout the lineup, but 1 through 5 or 6, it's just they're lethal. And that just adds protection throughout the lineup to a very scary lineup. And it's just relentless pressure on pitching staffs, and that's why you see these high-scoring games, even if you don't see it early. 5th, 6th inning, you start digging in, and they just can't go through this lineup for 9 innings.
Talking to Boomer White here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. So pitching, for the most part this season, has been phenomenal, right? What Max Wiener's done has been great. This weekend, a little bit of an issue. Schloss was in studio earlier just talking about the matchup, at least it was, for the starting rotation. Just your thoughts on what you saw from the pitchers, and are you concerned?
Yeah, I didn't get to tune in to Coach Schloss. I would have loved to listen to what he would have said. But, I think that I always look for 2 or 3 guys in the bullpen that you can lean on come postseason. And I think that Cortez and Aschenbeck are 2 of those guys. I think Sadeo is trying to be the 3rd guy. And then, in my opinion, you have up to 8 other relievers who can show up and give you a good outing. And I think that speaks to the depth of the quality of ours. You just don't have those guys that are really standing out, other than the 3 I mentioned. The starters, I think 1, 2 are going to be there. I think that you don't worry about Prager, and I don't think you worry about Jones. I think they didn't pitch their best, but I don't think this is a sign of what's to come. I think Sunday's where you gotta look to, and I don't know if Justin Lampkin's going to be in the rotation for weeks to come, but I do think you have so many different style arms. You have submariners, you have lefties, righties, power arms that you can almost do a pitcher by committee on a Sunday. I don't think you want to do that, but you do have enough depth to where you can just get a starter to go 2 or 3 innings, give you 2 or 3 good innings on one of the weekend games. You can mix and match for the rest because you know that Aschenbeck and Cortez are gonna be there when you need them. But I think that you just have enough arms to where you don't really have to fret if you can get good performances out of Friday and Saturday guys.
Yeah, and here's the thing. People are forgetting that Alabama at home is a different team. Alabama at home offensively has been phenomenal. Alabama at home has beaten Arkansas and Tennessee in a series. So, this is not like you're taking on a team that you should dominate. This is a team that is up for these big games.
100%. I think that's a great point. And I think that Alabama doesn't have the history of a baseball program that really scares you, and this year they should. And coming off of the Arkansas series and what they did against Tennessee, and getting up for another number one team in the country, to go get 2 of 3 is phenomenal. And I don't think that the Aggies should expect to sweep there. I don't think that the fans should. I think you got to understand who you're playing, look at those numbers that you're talking about, and know that you could have gotten a sweep. You almost did. And to not hit the panic button just because you allowed more runs than you're used to, because that's not going to happen every weekend.
How about the Friday that Caden Sorrell had and his impact, how he's making the most out of all these opportunities?
That's it right there. You just hit on it. It's making the most out of opportunities. And I think there's other freshmen that really are too, and would if the opportunities are there. But that's how you break into the lineup. You get an opportunity in a blowout game, in a pinch hit opportunity, whatever that may be, and you capitalize and you do it again and you do it again. And then you become undeniable. And I think when you're getting timely hits with runners in scoring position in late innings, you're executing moving runners, whatever that is, and also playing a good defense. Like I said, you become undeniable. And I think that's what he's become. And I think there are other guys that could have that opportunity and would do that. But this lineup's just so deep that maybe they're not getting it. But yeah, to see a freshman come through like he has lately, get a little more comfortable in these big games, big moments, all of a sudden you turn into a sophomore real fast. You turn in 3-4 weeks go by and you're a totally different player mentally and physically. And I think that's what we may be seeing in Terrell right now.
Hayden Schott's got the personality, and he's got the game to back it up, too. He had a nice weekend overall, and just what he has brought to this team, I think you can't undervalue it. I mean, he brings a lot more than just the stats.
Yeah, he does. And then when he was going through a little bit of a lull there, I was like, well, I think that he's still bringing a ton of value, even if he's not hitting 300, because of what he does to the personality of this team, to keeping them loose, to the confidence, just to the moxie that he brings, in my opinion. And then you top that with timely hitting, big home runs. He's hitting 320, 330. So I think you can't really put a value on what he's doing, just like Jackson Appel, but Hayden Schott does stand out because of his personality. He's a fun guy to be around. He's a fun guy to watch. He exudes a lot of confidence at the plate, and I think he does a really good job of separating kind of this aura that he's created of himself off the field and then not taking that on the field and just being a ball player. And he's clearly very good at what he does at the plate. And so to be able to do that and kind of bring what he's brought to this team off the field and loose and personality and excitement, I think it's a great combination.
Boomer, what does it say about them that they're a play or two away from winning the Florida series? They're a play or two of sweeping South Carolina. They're a play or two away, really a play from sweeping Alabama. That is not normal. Like, you don't go through an SEC season with the opportunity to sweep as often as they do, or the opportunity to dismantle teams on the road the way they have.
Yeah, to me it speaks to just depth everywhere. I think when offensively it speaks to depth because you don't go through 9 innings getting shut out or really getting held to just a couple runs, because the pressure you put on a pitching staff 1 through 9. Pitching staff-wise, it speaks to the depth because when someone gets in trouble, there's always someone else there to kind of stop the bleeding, do damage control. And when you combo those up, offensively on the pitching staff side, then really things can't get out of hand for you too badly, and you're always in game. Then you put, transfer portal, young guys, experienced seniors, everything together. It is a fantastic formula for a very successful season and a team that can make a run. But I think when you have depth like they do, and it's relentless pressure out of the arms or out of the bullpen with arms, and at the plate, then it's just really hard to be out of game. And you always feel like you're in it, and that's what it feels like when you watch it.
So A&M has not lost on the midweek. Hopefully that continues. But what is it, to me, championship caliber teams take care of business no matter who's pitching. no matter who's out there, if it's a midweek game, they kind of tinker with the lineup or not. They bring that same mentality. I assume you've been on teams of that ilk that have that same kind of foundation and personality.
Yeah, I've been on both kind of teams, and you know when you're on one side or the other. And this team has found itself in some holes on Tuesdays and against teams that they shouldn't be in trouble against, i.e. Prairie View, and they find a way to win. And I think that you don't look at who's pitching, you don't look at who's in the other dugout, and you just get the job done, and that's what they're doing. And I think that also it doesn't always matter, about style points. And you're looking at some teams that maybe we think we should blow out or shouldn't be a close game. And just because you win them, it's like, oh, that's not good enough. Well, look around the country at how really good teams do on Tuesdays, sometimes like Florida. And those aren't always easy games to win. You stack up enough of those close ones that you feel like you should have blown them out, but you just squeak by with a win. That gets you the super regional host. That gets you the regional host. That ends up paying dividends at the end. And so the fact that they come away with these wins, sometimes in dominant fashion, sometimes not, just speaks to their consistency and then not looking ahead to the likely ranked opponent that they're playing the next week.
Great stuff, Boom. I appreciate you, brother, and congratulations again at home. We'll talk to you soon, all right?
All right, thanks, David. You all have a good one.
You too, man. Boomer White there on the hotline. Appreciate his time here on the program. Look, we got to do Around Aggieland when we come back, but some breaking news from A&M basketball. David Sandhop reports that transfer guard C.J. Wilcher commits to Texas A&M. He's from Nebraska. We played against him there in the NCAA tournament. He only had 2 points in that game, but a couple things that stand out to me as I'm reading through Hop's article. 6'5", 215 pounds, only averaged 8 points a game last year or in his career at Nebraska. Before that, he was at Xavier. But last season, he hit 39% of his three-pointers, and for his time at Nebraska, 40.6. So the guy can shoot the three. Certainly will be a big part of of what's to come here with A&M basketball. We'll hit a break. When we come back, Kay Naegeli with Around Aggieland. That and more, TexAgs Radio. So that's A Tribe Called Quest, my favorite hip hop band of all time. You don't know who they are, but this weekend, Kay Naegeli, they were announced as Rock and Roll Hall of Fame members. Yeah, so there'll be a bunch of those dudes will be going in. It's in Cleveland, right? Am I right about that? Cleveland.
Big rock and roll guy, Matthew Dawson.
No, it's that museum. Sorry, I have food in my mouth, so don't
chewing on a cookie right
but I will say this: that Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is awesome. Definitely a visit. Probably the best thing that I saw in Cleveland when I went there.
So, and I know a bunch of the dudes in that band. So props
personally.
Yeah.
Wow.
One of them who's no
flex.
longer there, passed away, but I went to his wedding in Trinidad and Tobago years back, and they were my favorite band growing up. And then I became buddies with them. I became a roadie.
Look at you.
But our audience was like, who? Never heard of them. All right, let's do this. Let's do Around Aggieland presented by Normandy State Bank. Normandy State Bank, rock solid banking. The website is normandystatebank.com, and I got to do it. Kay Naegeli.
Well, you briefly just talked about it, but want to also hit on it. CJ Wilcher just announced his commitment to Texas A&M basketball. That is a big get for Buzz and the boys. He earned his bachelor's degree at Nebraska and will be a graduate transfer with 1 year of eligibility at Texas A&M.
It's kind of like Kevin Durant when he left the Thunder to join the Warriors. He knows what's up.
Yeah, hey, and if you can't beat him, you join
him, right?
Moving on to some other news, I want to talk some softball because they had a dominating weekend, just absolutely killed Ole Miss, swept them at home in their final conference series. It was a great showing all around. Emily Kennedy was absolutely insane, getting saves and wins left and right. I mean, she's been nuts this entire time, but they will host Houston at 6 p.m. on Tuesday at Davis Diamond before traveling to Sam Houston on Wednesday. So they have a kind of a busy midweek this week, which will be interesting to see how Trisha Ford and company handle that. Additionally, had some track and field going on this weekend as they battled the elements on its way to win a 17 event wins at the alumni muster meet. Along women's tennis defeated Vanderbilt on Friday 4-0 and then turned around to beat Florida 4-2, but unfortunately did lose to Georgia in the SEC championships. Obviously, Schloss just spoke about baseball, and we had some offensive line recruiting news as well at spring game this weekend, and it's also NFL draft week. So busy stuff.
You had 40 seconds to play with.
You
got it all in.
I hear the music and I start. I'm like,
I gotta go.
I gotta get through. I got a cookie to eat.
A warm cookie.
Warm.
That Nick did not offer me.
Yeah, Mr. Nick Savage's birthday.
She's got to come back here and try to convince everyone that the new Taylor Swift album is the greatest album
did
of all
on Friday,
time.
and you missed it.
My daughters say, it's not that good, Dad. Well, actually, Annalise said, it's a little too sad. Every song is sad, Dad. I want a happy song I can jam to. She said, there's no jams.
There's a couple, but it's also like in a sad sense.
Alan Denton, Tribe Called Quest, one of the greatest bands of all time. So rest in peace, Fife Dog. Billy Liucci next on TexAgs. And we're back here on TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Billy Liucci is in the building. We'll see when we get to him. At some point, we'll get to young Billy. But right now, let's do this. We'll go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center with finally our SEC storylines that we've teased on multiple occasions. A lot of stuff happening. We should reset that A&M was able to get a transfer for their basketball team, I should say. C.J. Wilcher coming into Texas A&M, graduate transfer from Nebraska. He did play against A&M in the NCAA tournament. He is a 39% three-point shooter. This team needs some three-point shooters. This guy's 6'5". So there you go. That's the newest addition to Texas A&M. Matthew Dawson, give me some SEC storylines.
I like it. Let's stay in the transfer portal. How about it? Let's talk football transfer portal. Adam Hopkins has not committed yet. He's transferring out of Colorado. If you remember, if you follow recruiting, big-time four-star recruit. A&M was hot on his board for sure. He committed to Auburn originally. Flipped to Colorado. He was going to play wide receiver. Flipped to DB there. A lot of flipping. But he is definitely on SEC watch. We'll see. He's from Georgia too, so he's from the Southeast. We'll see if he ends up landing at an SEC school. Philip Bliddy, edge rusher from Indiana, and then previously before that, Texas Tech. Follow that. I mean, he was okay for Indiana. He's transferring to Auburn now, so Auburn looking to add some help on the defensive line there. You also want to talk about the Lou Graza Award winner last year. Kind of coming from a school you didn't really think about, Miami, Ohio's Graham Nicholson. Graham Nicholson,
right? Yeah. Big fan of his game.
Yeah, really good. He actually beat out Will Reichard last year for that award, who was the Alabama kicker last year. You know, some people disagreed with that, but who cares? I don't. Will Reichard will be fine. So, but Will Reichard's out, then add in Graham Nicholson. It's not like a huge impact position, but something to think about. When a Lou Graza Award winner transfers to your school, it's definitely something to consider. Let's talk about more SEC stuff. Let's get to NFL draft. I like bringing up the NFL draft because I feel like you guys don't talk about it enough, David.
Did he just call me out, Nick?
I just called you out.
Dang.
Well, hold on. Let's
Shot fired.
Let's take this in parts.
It's draft week.
Wow.
The draft is in
hold on.
3 days.
Now you've upset the. By the way, you are right. We should talk more NFL draft. I apologize that our baseball team is the number 1 team in the world. I apologize for that. And our softball team, all they do is win series every time. And our women's golf team and our women's tennis team, they're all in the mix. And our track and field team and our men's team, men's golf team. And I can continue. I'm sorry that we're very good. Oh, and by the way, there's a lot of other stuff going on like spring football. I apologize that I haven't carved out 3 hours and 37 minutes of NFL draft talk this week. I apologize.
To be honest with you, David, I think Matthew could be our NFL draft expert. Like he
could have been before his snide comment.
That's
before
true. He just lost his
Hold
chance.
on.
He could have been Mel Kiper, Dawson, pink vest guy, but he's not.
I do not want to be a Mel Kiper. Let's get that across. Daniel Jeremiah, that guy knows his stuff. But look, I'm just here to bring it up because
and I apologize that every week when I talk to John Harris, we talk about the NFL. I apologize. You're right.
I'm just saying it's in 3 days. So
You're right. The first hour today, the go hour, should have not been about spring football and the Aggie baseball weekend. You're right. I'm sorry.
No, it definitely should have been, David. But I'm here to bring it up now in the third and final hour of the show.
I don't think you guys talk enough about badminton. Okay. Continue. Matthew,
right.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
I know. So Daniel Jeremiah, I actually gave this before. He hasn't come out with a new top 50 yet. He'll probably come out with that in his final mock draft in the next couple of days, which, I will be looking out for. He's got 9 SEC players in his top 32. He's got 13 in his top 50. And if you want to look at the DraftKings odds for SEC players selected in the first round, 9.5 is the over-under, and it is juiced to the over at minus 220. So they're projecting double-digit SEC players to go in the first round. Almost a third of all players in the SEC, or all players in the first round, will be from the SEC. That's pretty bonkers if you ask me. The second most is the Pac-12 with 7.5, and that's juiced to the under. So it's actually under minus 220 right there. So everyone else will have significantly less players, in a quote-unquote down year for bowl season in the SEC, whatever that means. There's kind of a lot of talent coming out in the NFL. So definitely something to look out for that I will be excited about on Thursday. All right, now I'm done with the SEC or the NFL draft. Is that right, David? Can I move on?
You're the program director. I don't know. Sorry. Just tell me when I can talk again.
Well, I'll talk about gymnastics. I know Texas A&M does not have a gymnastics team, but LSU did win their first program national championship there for the gymnastics team. So I guess congratulations to them. Not that I am an LSU fan, but it's something to poke around. SEC, Kentucky men's tennis team won back-to-back SEC regular season, right? And tournament championships these past 2 years. So that is actually really impressive for that Kentucky men's tennis team. The women's tennis team, they lost in the SEC championship to Georgia.
4-1.
Bummer, 4-1. They had played 2 previously good games before that, but Georgia, I think that's their second. Maybe it's their second straight SEC. No, I think I'm wrong about that. Either way, let's move on to baseball. Mississippi State, they swept Auburn. I believe they're currently 3rd in the SEC West right now after kind of a slow start for them. Auburn kind of on the decline. LSU won their series against Missouri. Believe it or not, David, the defending national championships just won their first SEC series of the season.
Wow.
Isn't that kind of nuts?
That is nuts, yeah.
You wouldn't think about that. And then Tennessee defeated Kentucky in their series 2-1. Kentucky, very good baseball team. They're at the top of the SEC East, so that was definitely a slugger fest there. Tennessee comes out on top. So 2 teams that we're going to be looking out for come SEC time, SEC tournament time. I'm sure Texas A&M and Coach Schloss already have them on their radar for sure. And I believe Billy's about to be back in studio.
Yeah,
but
and Dawson, by the way, I give you a hard time, but you actually did really good work this weekend. Didn't you shoot the game and you shot the press conference? Right?
I did.
Yeah.
I did both those. But actually, I shot the press conference. I'm pretty sure Dalton just used another press conference. But, I was there. I was shooting.
And you also did the post-game wrap with Brandon Leone.
Well, that was called an audible there a little bit. That was a good call by you. It started raining. Did in the hallway there, so maybe
it looked good. I thought they looked good with the A&M logo in the background, the lights. It was good.
I thought that little light, the portable light that you had, things I don't think about. The audience, they don't know what goes into production here. But Dave Nuño was on top of it. He was ready. He had his little portable light out, and I thought we got a good shot there.
We did. How's that cookie, Billy? Oh, you didn't want me to talk to you. Sorry. Go back to Matthew Dawson. 10:07 here on a Monday. I know.
So do I got to stall for 20 seconds? Can you put that cookie down about 20 seconds?
Let's put the camera on Matthew Dawson now.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll stall for about 20 seconds. Give Billy some time to finish his cookie.
We did have
coffee.
A text message from Ray in Great Falls. Starting to think this A&M baseball team could beat the Astros. What do you think?
Ooh.
All right, you're done. I'm back.
Hey, buddy.
What's up, Yoda?
How are you?
Well, I'm good. I mean, it's Nick's birthday, so we have cookies.
Right.
It was a good morning surprise.
Thank you to Mrs. Savage for sending that to the office. I believe she's the one who sent that.
What, Nick's mom?
Yeah.
How about my favorite story about Nick's mom is, it's when we were at the event at
I know you're going to tell it incorrectly, but
okay, tell me where I go wrong.
No, you tell the
And
story.
we're sitting there, and Nick Savage is like, "Hey, my mom's here, and she's sitting over there." And David go, you go, "Oh, yeah, I'd love to meet her." And he goes,
I think I said,
"You have met her."
Yeah, he did say that.
You have met her, David. And you go, "Oh."
No, but I remembered. It was in the back hall.
Now you do.
No, I did in the moment.
No, you didn't.
I did in the moment. I did. Nick can tell you.
He goes, "You have met her, David." That was like when you were saying, "Thank you." He goes, "It's good, David."
Good.
What's good? That's what.
Hey, without that, I don't know if they make those hats for A&M baseball. I think that's my.
You might want to take credit for that.
I'm going to. Especially.
You were a big Jocko guy before I knew Slosh was one.
Yeah, I'm still Team Jocko.
I'm not.
Why? He wakes up at 4:45.
I don't like his drinks.
Because you don't like
I don't like the fact that he wakes up. I do. You're right. I don't like the fact that he wakes up at 4:45.
This is interesting. A disciplined person that fought for our country.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, wait, that's perfect.
You didn't know that?
I don't know.
He's
enough
a
about
Navy SEAL, one of the greatest ever.
I don't know enough about the guy.
What about David Goggins? Do you like him?
A little too Instagram really for me.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I'm not a big poster.
I don't need anyone to talk trash to me while I'm trying to exercise.
Oh, I do. Like, we should try that sometime. Hey, can we talk
what
pleasantries about A&M baseball this segment?
Another huge series win. And what I like about this team is, and the team, not the fans, the team has conditioned the fans to be disappointed when they don't close out a sweep.
Yep.
Well, that's because the team is so good and they're getting so close to sweeping these road SEC series that the fans are getting disappointed because the team is disappointed, because the team is setting the bar so high, and they're going out trying to win a series. And I know Slosh was down here with y'all, and I know that weather might have been the only reason they didn't get a sweep this weekend, because you had a coach that was sitting there seeing an opportunity to win a series and was playing that second game like you might not even play game 3 Saturday. We got to go win this thing. And they still almost won it. Runners for first and third, nobody out there, and just a tough 9th inning, or they probably win that thing. But look, I've read so many things this weekend that sometimes I'm just like, oh my God, like this. It is not the perfect pitching staff. But then I ask you, who in the hell has that in college baseball this year? So it's not, you can't sit there and go, well, we need a Michael Wacha and Ross Stripley. Yeah, that was great to go into series with that 1-2 hammer. And how far did that team make it? They made it to Omaha, and they were 0-2 in Omaha. Like, there's so much more that goes into it. So, yeah, you'd love a Skeen at the top, and you'd love to pair him with Prager. Oh, man, that would be great. Who has that?
Right.
All I heard was how good Bama's pitching was. And I said it because they were. You look at how they shut down Arkansas, Arkansas, who was number 1, they shut them down in 2 or 3 games. What did this A&M lineup do to that pitching staff? So, Aggie pitching is so much better than it was last year. And they had a rough weekend with a couple pretty encouraging exceptions, obviously. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know what you get from an Oschenbeck. But with what Cortez did, I thought Sadeo came in, and that was encouraging. But, yeah, there are things that you look at and you go, okay, now what's going on with this third starter, much less the fourth? But there are so many options. And really, if you look at this pitching staff versus this time last year, or even, I'll be honest with you, I don't know when the pitching really, you started to feel great about it 2 years ago when they went to the Final Four. I mean, there was a point in time where Micah Dallas was really struggling down the stretch, and then he picked it up again postseason. But, outside of, having Polish as your long reliever, there were major questions about that. I don't think there are questions on this staff in terms of
not as many.
How do you make it through a regional and then in a super best of 3? Like, certainly. But my thing is, teams are going to be playing Texas A&M. What are their concerns playing the Aggies with their pitching staffs? I mean, I think this A&M staff is incredibly improved. I think, even though there are questions, you'd love to know like 1, 2, 3, and 4, obviously. So would everybody in the country. I don't know how many teams can. The good news is a lot of these guys that have been up and down have been up,
mostly up.
And so so it's just, again, it's not perfect, flawless right now, and they got about a month to get it as close to that as they can. Remember what they did last year down the stretch on the mound. And I think Max Weiner is probably got to be a contender for one of the coaches. If you're talking about like assistant coach impact in the Southeastern Conference this year, he's on the very, very, very short list. By the way, and I don't know if Schloss said this or not, but you go into Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and play that team coming off beating 2 out of 3 beating Arkansas, and almost sweeping them, by the way.
Yep.
I think their loss was 1 run. And you go in there and club them around twice.
And Tennessee, by the way.
And coming from behind. Yeah, and Tennessee, that just won a series against Kentucky in Lexington. And you go in there and win 2 out of 3, but knock them around. And even in the game you lost, you score 9. Yeah, Bama hit you. And I think anyone in that locker room would say, yeah, we didn't pitch like we should. But that's a really good lineup. Mm-hmm. That's a damn good lineup. And there are a ton of those in the SEC. And that's why so many teams in this conference score so many runs. And I think A&M last weekend faced a good Vandy lineup and shut them down. And then this weekend they faced a great Bama lineup and they outslugged them. Last weekend they faced a Vandy, a terrific pitching staff. And this weekend I think they faced a team with a damn good Friday, Sunday starter. And look what they did in the 2 series. What are they averaging? I know they scored 36 against Vandy. What'd they score? 18, 10, and 9? 37. So they're averaging 12 runs a game against Vanderbilt and Alabama. And
You're going to win a lot of series like that.
Well, and that's the thing. They have the ability, if the pitching's not there, to outslug you. But they also have the ability to come out like they did against Vandy and give up, what'd they give up in that series? 6 runs, 7 runs, whatever it was. I mean, so this is right now, it's the best team in college baseball. So you can worry about one thing or the other, and I promise you Schloss and his staff will, because that's how he's wired. He's never going to stop worrying about it. But this is the best college baseball team in the country. And it's the best college baseball team in the country in mid-April. You want it to be the best college team in the country in mid-June. So we got two more months to sustain that. But they're going to be in the conversation. But right now, today, they're the best.
Well, and Bronny had a good thought earlier, too. Like, had you changed the loss to the middle game, let's just say, and the most recent game, we'd be feeling great.
You always say that in a series. I think people do feel great, first of all. I think people do feel great. I just think we're getting greedy in a good way. As fans, I think the players and Slosh and the coaching staff were greedy. They wanted to sweep. It's hard to close those out. But look, this is a rough and tumble league. I'm sure Bama's sitting there going, well, if we wouldn't have blown a 5, we should have never lost that first game. We're up 5-0. If we could have done that. Everybody comes away saying that every weekend. There's a game where you wish. But the reality is A&M smacked Bama around in 2 out of 3 games. They came up just short in the third. They smacked Vandy around in 2 games and then won a closer game. I think, what was this, game 3? Close, but not really. It was 12-6. But they kind of smacked Vandy around for 3. You know, you want those wins, South Carolina, Alabama, because you're going to look back and wish you'd have gotten them later. You know, all but one team are going to be able to pick several games ago. I wish we would have had that. We would have won an SEC title. A&M's right in the mix for the SEC title right now, especially with what Kentucky did this weekend. But it's really it's a 5-team race right now. And it's a 5-team race with 4 series to go. It's Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, A&M. I'm sorry, I said 5. It's a 4-team race, really, realistically. SEC title does matter. You do want trophies if you're Texas A&M athletics, and it hasn't happened here at A&M, right? They haven't won an SEC regular season. I don't think. So those things are significant. But what you're really trying to do is to be the best team in the country when the postseason's played. And that's what they're building towards. And with that comes winning SEC series, winning SEC games. They've won 5 straight SEC series. They've won their last 2 series on the road against ranked teams. They've won their last 3 series against ranked teams. And they're what are they in those games? 7-2?
Yeah.
So yeah, they're playing elite level baseball, and they have raised everyone's standard and expectation. So, yeah, do you go, damn, we could have won that game yesterday? Sure. Do you walk away going, hell yeah, we just won a series on the road against a team that just beat number 1? Certainly you do.
Well, and one quick thing about the offense that we know is elite. But if, let's say you take on a team with an elite Friday night starter or whatever, right? Eventually that dude's going to come out of the game, right? Yeah. So he goes 5 innings. The rest of the pitchers, I doubt will have A&M's number for an entire 9-inning game. So sometimes it'll be a slow start.
Yep.
But 1 through 9, they're fine.
Absolutely. And it's funny you talk about an ace, and you know, there's going to be a game where the runs are hard to come by for A&M, but it's not going to be very often. It's not going to be very often. And if you do have an ace, problem is you're talking about a super, because in a regional, A&M's going to be a 1 seed. The 2-3, you're going to have to throw your best guy in a 2-3.
Yeah.
So when you do face an A&M, you're facing him with your second guy. So, you know, yeah, that guy can come up and have a game and slow you down, but realistically, that's advantage A&M. The super regional is what you're thinking of when you're just trying to but I just don't think you can really sit here and worry about that type of thing right now, because every weekend in the SEC is a super regional. Teams are doing everything they can to win that series, 2-1. Everything they can. Okay? There's not any, we're going to save no one's saving pitching. This isn't a Tuesday night game. This is a super regional every weekend. The opposing coach and Slosh are doing everything they can to win that series, just the same as they'll do in the super regionals. They'll just be more on the line then. But the effort to win the series, the moves you make, everything you do they've played 5 super regionals, Nuño. They've played 6 super regionals, and they're 5-1 in those. And the one they lost was on the road, which they're not going to be playing one on the road. They're going to be a top 8 national seed. They are 5-1 in 6 super regionals so far this season. Their one loss was a close one to Florida. And by the way, in their last outside of Mississippi State, none of those super regionals would have even gone to a game 3. If you think about it, Bama would have been done in 2.
Yep.
That's a tough team on the road. South Carolina, a ranked team, would have been done in 2. It's a really good team on the road. Auburn, done in 2. Vandy, you'd beat them in 2 without them scoring a run.
Yep.
Vanderbilt. So, yeah, we all, I think as fans, even us covering the team, certainly the guys over there, you're just like, as the season progresses and you see how good this team is, you start to go, damn, they really could win this thing this year. So the pressure, not the pressure, but how bad I think we all want to see it, I think it amplifies and I think it plays out in like the stress factor of fight. And you're trying to project and go, man, because you're going, gosh, just get this team to Omaha and see what they can do. But my thing is just enjoy the ride of it. And if they're winning series and winning them on the road, that's pretty damn exciting. And they're coming home against Georgia. This is a good Georgia team. I mean, I know you'd love to come home and get a sweep or whatever, but the reality is you're coming home and you're trying to win a series against another good team that can mash. And you hope, we know another team that can mash too. Yep. So that should be a fun, exciting series. And I think, look, crowd should be incredible this weekend across the street.
All right, we're going to hit a break here. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, let's talk a little bit about the spring game and maybe some new additions here to A&M. But we're starting off closing this segment with Costa Vida time. Many of you got to eat their food there at Kyle Field. I know that they were open there in the concession area. You should check them out also at Olsen Field anytime you go out there on the third base line because you know the great food and the standard that Holly has brought to this area. Holly, by the way, a great Aggie. Whenever you go there, tell her hello that you listen on TexAgs, by the way. But the menu there at Olsen Field, you got chili lime chicken, you got sweet pork burritos, you've got sweet pork baja bowls, you got chips, you got queso, you got key lime pie. So you got that there when you go to Olsen Field, and they had a different menu there for the spring game, so get ready to see what they have there at Kyle Field in the 24 season for Aggie football. If you haven't been in store recently, you're missing out, by the way. You can get the Home Run Cabo out there, a favorite of Jace LaVillette, and number 12, Ryan Targach. It's an entree with sweet pork enchiladas smothered in house-made queso, rice and beans, and a large drink. You get that all for $11.99. When you go there, you're going to love it. The coast is fantastic. It is Costa Vida. Sweet pork quesadillas. You got your specialty drinks out there. You got your key lime pie. You got it all. And, of course, if you're there for breakfast, get your breakfast on. Get your breakfast taco there at Costa Vida. 4501 Mills Park Circle in College Station. 4501 Mills Park Circle in South College Station is Costa Vida. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Billy's on the phone. He'll be joining us back in studio in a moment. I do want to look at some of these notes that Matthew Dawson put together looking ahead. I think you put this together, Matthew, at the Georgia series.
Yeah, well, the stats are mine, but Alex, I believe, put that together.
All right, in the back. Alex, good job, buddy. Last 10 games for A&M, 8-2. Last 10 games for Georgia, they're 6-4. Last 6 games for A&M, which includes obviously the midweek in between, 5-1. Last 6 games for Georgia, 4-2 overall record. Ags 35-5, while Georgia, 29-10. When you talk about offensive numbers for Georgia, you think about one dude. His name is Matthew Dawson.
Charlie Condon.
26 home runs, 56 RBI. When you talk about Texas A&M, not too far behind him, Braden Montgomery. By the way, Charlie Condon's batting .483. Good God. Am I reading that correctly?
Yeah, I thought that was a typo. Actually, before, I think a couple weeks ago when I updated my spreadsheets, and I have it filtered by now I have it filtered by games played, right? So I have key players that automatically sorts by OPS. But the thing is, I had to account for games played. So when I saw that, I'm like, okay, well, how many games has this guy played? Every single one. And he is still hitting at a .483 clip. He is nuts.
Yeah. By the
1,700 OPS.
I saw a note that Jack Caglione has hit a home run in 9 straight games, which is ridiculous. Hey, Billy Liucci, good to see you, sir.
David, what's up? We got a basketball commit?
We do. Yeah, we do. We had some football commits over the weekend. We got a basketball commit. We got only a few minutes left in this segment. Do you want to start off with C.J. Wilcher, the newest?
Yeah, let's do that and do the second half of spring ball and recruiting. And who knows, we might have a special guest.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, just for fun.
Okay, cool.
Wilcher, yeah, interesting
40% three-point line guy.
Yeah, and look, he had a couple of really nice games for them. Didn't play a lot against A&M, or didn't score a lot and play a lot.
2.
Yeah, and but obviously this is one of those deals. Look, average almost 8 a game, but the big number that stands out is that 40% from 3. I remember seeing him during that game. I'm down there on kind of court level. He came in, was a big body guy, and what I don't know about is what his reputation is defensively. But I've said this before, and look, Buzz is going to – I truly believe he's going to make some noise in the portal here pretty soon. And I don't think this is a one-guy ad. I think it's going to be 3, 4, probably. If I put an over-under, I'd put it at
3.5.
At least, 3.5, and I might take the over.
Okay.
I might lean towards 4. And then keeping that core nucleus together. So, I mean, think about the opportunities and the options here. And remember this about Buzz and this group. Last year wasn't, they didn't get a lot of bang there out of the portal. Now, you bring Jace Carter back, what he could do next year is interesting because he certainly was improving and figuring out his role throughout as the remainder of the season. I don't know how many threes he hit down the stretch, but he started to hit some key ones. He hit a big one against U of H. I know he hit a big one against, I think, Kentucky, Nebraska. Florida, Nebraska. There started to be 1 or 2 in each of those important games down the stretch. So I think Jace's potential next year is he could kind of look like a different guy. But that's about it in terms of, Levesque gave you some minutes you needed. I thought he was a lot better in the postseason, down that stretch. Mm-hmm. But realistically, that would not be okay, they really scored in the portal last year. But you look at this team, and it was Andy Garcia. Not that he was a portal, but Boots Radford was a transfer that paid incredible dividends. Dexter Dennis, Henry Coleman. I'm sure we're forgetting somebody. They've done a really nice job with the pieces they've added in the portal. And by the way, and not to go down the whole road of, there was news about him this past weekend. Yeah. I don't expect, we're not going to see Julius Marble back. But minus off, prior to the off court, the what's going on in the legal realm, and that's just, gosh, you hate to see that
you do.
For a young person, but most specifically, a victim in such a crime. Like it's, on every level, it's awful, and I hate to see it. Inexcusable. You go and see how things play out in court. I always say that because I always hate to just race up there, but man, that just lives get ruined, but
from a
we're
basketball
talking about
perspective-
I'm digressing because you have to when you talk about something like that, but we're talking about portal. I think they've done an outstanding job since this new age of college basketball, and Buzz has adjusted. But what you haven't seen are these massive name gets. There's a guy from, North Carolina that, like Texas got Asmus from Oral Roberts, and everyone went crazy about why can't we get – well, Texas advanced just as far as A&M did, no further. They went and got – the guy at Arkansas, Mark.
Right.
And everybody, I saw a lot of our fans go, why can't we get – well, I think that guy's really good. But I don't know, is that what A&M needs? Or does A&M go get like a pure point guard that lets Wade
Play
see
off the
more
ball.
off ball? And do like Buzz knows what his team needs to be better and advance further, and he's going to put those pieces together. And I think Wiltshire is a piece of that. I'd be interested to get their take, and I will today in terms of the defensive side of it. But I think we've all talked about who's going to sit out there and bang threes and come off screens and can shoot, and I think this is that guy.
Okay, we'll hit a break here. We'll talk some spring ball when we come back. It's TexAgs Radio. We're back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Billy, I know you don't like broad takeaways, so I'm going to go specific on you, all right?
Okay.
This was my take. I'd like for you to take the baton from it.
Okay.
Don't read into Connor Wigman's numbers. Read into his body. Read into his movement. Read into how he looked. I saw a quarterback that moved very well considering what he's coming back from.
I couldn't make it out of the parking lot without several people telling me I'm worried about how he ran. I'm like, guys, it's like I kept trying to prep. Which was if you would have seen him 2 weeks ago and if you'd seen him a month ago and you saw him the last couple practices, you would just sit there and go, this is what that looked like. And so why would it not look like that moving into the offseason? Like, it just common sense of it. Sure, you'd love your QB1 to look 100% and not 75, not 80, not whatever. But he practiced every day. He was with the ones, got the overwhelming majority of those reps and went out there and played in the spring game. It's fine, like that part. The thing was, he had almost none of all the receivers were on the other team. The split O-line is a disaster for a game going up against this D-line.
For cohesion,
because the D-line can go too deep. That was even without Shamar Turner, who might be your best guy. That was without, and I say might because you got Nick Scorton and Shamar Stewart who's doing this. So one of your three best, let's say. I mean, but that was without him. That was without Rylan Kennedy, who had a good sprint. I mean, you still go too deep. So it's a tough matchup to split apart your O-line and then say, okay, now we're going to put you up against this D-line. So that was a tall task for Wigman.
Yeah.
Saw that one series there where it was like second and short, and by himself, Nick Scorton turned it into 3rd and long and 4th and really long, and Wigman had no chance. So it was like one of those days there. And it was, the draft thing. I don't know. We may have to question Torian York's drafting skills when you sit there and go, what you got to get the guy some receivers desperately. But and by the way, my man Button went out there and had a good game at receiver when we're talking about wideouts. But listen, if I was analyzing this spring game, which I have a hard time doing, I'm more of the spring season, and we had a great conversation about that the other day on the Luchador. So anyone that's wondering, like, hey, where's we want some input on the spring, go watch that. Or if you have to read the Cliff Notes, read them. But if you can watch or listen on your drive to work one day, I thought that's good. I gave a ton of info on where things look. And I think a lot of it you kind of saw on Saturday, in particular those running backs. Le'Veon Moss, Reuben Owens, Amari Daniels had a really good spring. I think if you watch the O-line, like the blocking schemes, if you were watching it from an X's and O's standpoint, you saw guys, I think, looking like they knew what they were doing, confident, getting to that second level. There you see Theo making a catch and run. I talked about him having a good spring, along with Trey Watson. Those tight ends were promising. I think you saw what we talked about in terms of the Jalen Henderson, Marcel Reed battle has been really competitive. And you saw Henderson make some good throws. You saw Reed. What's interesting about Reed is, as a second-year guy, he had some great days in the spring. He had some days where he looked like a second-year guy. But he was consistent. And I think the fans saw him look really good out there Saturday. I thought he looked really good. And the last time they saw him, he looked really good in a bowl game when he was thrown into action. So while I want to caution that, like, look, Wigman's the guy. There's a real battle there for two. And I think you can say that and also say, oh, by the way, Marcel Reed's one of the most exciting young players in the program. So that's and you saw a little bit of that again on Saturday. But I think what, to me, the biggest takeaway, David, was that defense even when you split them up,
pretty good.
Pretty good. And with Mike Elko and Jay Bateman and the guys they have returning, look, we know what to expect from a Mike Elko defense. And you saw what he did in year one under Jimbo Fisher when there were no one knew what to expect, right?
Right.
And all of a sudden, guys like Dalen Mack look twice as good as they did. Now, I'm having a damn hard time remembering even who the players were on that initial defense. But like Tyrell Dodson, Otaro Alaka, Dalen Mack, and you saw so many of those guys make jumps kind of right off the rip there under Jimbo in year one because of Mike Elko on defense. And I think he's got more to work with now, partially because of what came back up front, but also through the portal. I don't think they're done on defense in the portal. Not with very much, but you remember you're watching that defense the other day, split up and without Shamar Turner, who's an all-SEC candidate and NFL bound, without, I mentioned Rylan Kennedy, without Tyreek Chappelle, who's a 3-year starter coming back, who did some really nice things at nickel this spring, without Des Ricks, a 5-star at Alabama that really impressed as a true freshman, that at practice and in limited action behind 2 NFL-bound corners, so 5-star corner, without Terry Bussey, 5-star corner, without Trey Jones, who was a multi-year starter at Central Michigan and a guy they think could be a big piece. Without all of that, and I'm sure I'm even leaving off somebody else, without, they brought a defensive lineman that started 40 games at Central Michigan coming in. Without all that, and I think they'll probably go, I do believe they're going to get a linebacker in the portal that'll come in and compete to start. So they're not only will the collective improve from now until August and September, meaning the group you saw out there split up, but you're also adding in quite a bit that wasn't out there. And I think the fans and the people that are talking on TexAgs and on social media, what they saw also that I talked a lot about this spring is a really improved secondary. Not just the guys that came in.
The existing guys.
Ratcliffe, Saunders, Mays, who else? Lee. Not just those guys, but also the existing guys that improved. Particularly, I think Chappelle finding a role, but especially, at safety like Anderson, Dalton Brooks. So you saw things go, and I think the fans saw that Saturday and go, okay, these DBs will lock some guys up.
Let's do this. We'll hit a break, come back with the commitments from over the weekend, maybe see how portal's shaking out. It's TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. And we're back on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. By the way, it's time to end the day with
Nebraska fan on Twitter going, congrats. You get to watch him whiff countless three-pointers, forced three-pointers. I go, well, if the guy made 40% of them, I'm doing the math, that means he didn't whiff on countless.
Not that many. Yeah.
It means he made 40%, which is a pretty damn good percentage of three-pointers. So I think I think that sounds like sour grapes to me. By the way, I did watch. In fairness, I did watch Nebraska guys whiff on countless shots.
Against A&M.
I watched it firsthand.
Yeah.
It was against A&M, including your Pride and Joy, and I watched a lot of them whiff on three-pointers after that hot start, and that was I think A&M kind of laid off the gas with about 4 minutes left and still scored 98. So, yeah, I think Nebraska fans should probably
sit this one out,
yep. and save it for another day.
Caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's, who've been serving Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza and those world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way. As a reminder, they are not open on Mondays. Billy, over the week.
Well, we almost had the big truth in studio. That was why they did that. He's supposed to come down, but long-winded Hunter and Jones are up there just yapping in the meeting. So he was, Hunter, I guess that's more important than TexAgs Radio. I was looking forward to getting some big truths. So we'll get him in.
Nick in my ear says Solomon DeShields has committed to Texas A&M, the Pitt transfer. So
that's a big one, and that's one we expected this weekend. Well, as the weekend went on, he was not a guy that came in as a done deal. That was going to take a good recruiting effort, and he had to love what he saw, and clearly he did. And you go look, I think maybe if Nick can pull up those numbers of what he did at Pitt, that's a big
He finished
time.
with 58 tackles, 27 solo, third best on the team, had a career high with 8 tackles against West Virginia and Virginia Tech, also had 8 tackles for a loss, 2 sacks, 1 pass defended in 2023.
That's a big time get in the portal. That's a big time get. Pitt. Remember who he played for at Pitt? That's a Pete. Is it Pete Narduzzi? Pat Narduzzi. Pat Narduzzi defense. That's what he's known for. He's kind of like, in fact, Kevin Sumlin and A&M tried to hire Pat Narduzzi as the DC before they hired John Chavis. Who knows what would have happened had Narduzzi got on that plane? Right. But so he's coming from a defensive-oriented head coach. Was a good player for a team that again, defense is the strength of that football team. That's a big addition, Nuño. Mm-hmm. And he'll compete to start. And again, just like what they added at center to compete with Mark Naboo, right? Naboo's your starting center, but Mark's got to, and he does understand, and you heard him the other day, he's got a grasp of it. Everybody's going to compete. You watch that spring game, I didn't see anybody else snapping the ball. That's a concern. So they're going to go add depth, but they're also going to, with guys they add, even at receiver, which they're still in the process of trying to do, and they've got the big name Penn State visitors still on campus. You're trying to upgrade your team and go get the best players you can get from the portal. So you added a starter from Utah on the O-line in the trenches, where they are one of the most physical teams in college football under Kyle Whittingham. You know what that is? That's a tough dude. That's a tough football team. That's the strength of their team, is in the trenches. And you got a piece of that puzzle that started for them. You go to Pitt, that's Pat Narduzzi. That's a tough-minded football coach. That's a physical defense. And you go get one of their best players on defense, and you go get a linebacker. Those guys come in to compete to start. And that's just the way it goes. And then if you beat them out and you maintain your position, if you're Naboo, if you're Damian Sanford, a little different on defense because those guys can all play. But you have the potential. You're going out and you're getting real value. And when you can watch Pitt tape against ACC competition and against other, whoever they play in the non-conference, and you can watch Utah play against real teams over the last couple of years, you're getting real tape that you're not getting from high school recruits. And even more so, and you can evaluate, and I'm all about the G5 guys, But, man, when you can evaluate guys against Power 5 competition over multiple years in their career, that's when you're going to hit on these guys way more likely than not. So in the last 24 hours, man, this Texas A&M football team got a lot better.
Yep.
I think they potentially got a lot better.
Billy, thank you very much, sir.
All right, David.
Appreciate
thank you for the finger countdown.
Yeah, I'm good at that.
Yep.
All right, that's going to do it for TexAgs Radio on a Monday. We'll see you mañana.